Where's your button? Where's your button at, girl? You've already been fed. God, you're insane. Hungry. 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 Hello, hello in Cleveland. Look, I put my home sweet home sign up. I think I like my bangs grown out. Okay, I'm almost done. Hello. Hello, WP. There's a woodpecker who lives in that tree. Whatever plastic they use for this is the strongest fucking plastic I have ever encountered in the wild. I want to know what they're using to shrink wrap. Dude. No, so leave it alone. It's tapping her butt. The little piece of string right here is like flapping her. Nope, 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 nope. It's okay. Hey. Hey. It's okay. Hey, let go. Damn it. There it is. What you doing? Busted. Busted! I know. Okay. I feel like that's really small. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna have to go back. Woman! Sheesh! Go outside. There's a plethora of things for you to go after out there. You don't have to do that in here. I don't want to have to do any more rows. But I have to. I'm trying to figure out how I can get away with not undoing what I've done, but una fortuna tale. I love myself, like, so very much, and I am so proud of myself. There's a bird outside that is making the same sound that Orly makes when he whines. Orly's right here, but I hear it outside. I thought it was my dog. I bet it's one of those crows. I got Elliot and Josh a present. I cannot wait for it to come in the mail. It's called box ballin', I think. It's like you strap this thing to your head and it has a ball attached to it and it goes with your phone and you have to like see how many times you can hit it. It helps with coordination and all that jazz. I can't wait for it to come. What? Fuck. Is it gonna make it? Did I tell you guys about the time that my dog told me that there was a roof leak in my house? Like nothing would stop him from whining and I just couldn't figure it out. And like he didn't want to go outside. He wasn't trying to get food. He was just upset. Bro, I just need a little bit more. Oh, there's Sookie. What are you doing? Tuk-tuk! Stop trying to kill that bird! Sookie! She's gonna get herself stuck. Dingus, you're gonna get stuck. Tuk-tuk. At least she figured out to go outside. Oh. Do you want to go outside too? Do you want to go outside too? me go outside and see the birdies too.
Get a load of this, guys. Another Afghan national was arrested, this time in Texas. Now, reports are saying that he posted a video on TikTok of himself making a bomb and bomb threats. Very strange that all of this is happening so close together. I mean, it was just the other day we reported about an Afghan national who went to, as they said, he drove across the country to Washington, D.C., and shot two National Guard members. One of them has already passed away. That is Sarah Beckstrom, who is only 20 years old. And now they are reporting that an Afghan national in Texas was arrested 2 days prior to that incident in D.C. Very strange, isn't it? It's almost as if someone just pressed a button somewhere and it activated these guys. It's almost as if, and I'm telling you guys, look, yes, I believe in coincidences, but given everything that is taking place right now, I do not consider this to be a coincidence. I believe these guys were activated, and we're going to get into the details of this. Let's start with this first clip here. By the way, Fox News was the only one who reported this so far, and other news outlets are referring to the Fox News reporting. So I find that very interesting as well. Listen to this.
Well, this just in, we have a Fox News alert from Brooke Taylor. You won't believe this. DHS is confirming that an Afghan national was arrested Tuesday after posting a video of himself on TikTok indicating he was building a bomb with an intended target of the Fort Worth area.
Yeah, I don't believe it. Yeah, I don't believe you're telling the whole story. You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys. They're not even trying to hide it. This close together, excuse me, this close together, like, they are really, really trying to press this button. I'm telling you, they are trying to make you fear Muslims in this country. They're going to try to sell this narrative that we are under attack, that Americans are under attack from Muslims. And why Afghanistan? We're going to get into the details about that in just a couple of minutes about what Donald Trump said in September of this year about Afghanistan. Let's continue.
Mohammed Dawood Al-Okazai is charged at the state level with making a terroristic threat. According to DHS, listen to this. He came to the United States as part of Operation Allies Welcome. So here you have it. This happened Tuesday. Texas Department of Public Safety. This is a second Afghan national, second one this week. Operation Allies Welcome. He had a terror plot. We know it comes the same week that deranged individual, that alleged assassin, took out two of our heroic National Guard, came here on the same program, Operation Allies Welcome, a program that we were assured time and time again by Mayorkas, by Jen Psaki, by Joe Biden himself, was safe and secure. But here we have a second data point in 1 week that it was not safe, it was not secure. And we've got to look very hard at this program as President Trump is vowing to make change. We will give you all the details as they come. New reporting in from Brooke Taylor.
And notice what she said there at the end. They have to take another look at this program. In other words, what that means is that they're going to have to take another look at immigration policy and how these people were vetted. Now, we already told you that the previous suspect from D.C. was approved for asylum under Donald Trump's administration this year in April. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to say this is all the fault of the Biden administration. And as I told you guys before, look, there are many criticisms of Joe Biden and his administration, which I have been talking about for a number of time, you know, on this channel when he was president. But Joe Biden is not president anymore. Donald Trump is president. So only for so long can they continue with this narrative. This is all because of the Democratic Party. Reality here is, folks, we know, like, if we look at the history of this country, we know that there was, yes, different operations that have happened via the deep state. We know about MK Ultra. We know how they experimented on people right here in this country. And I don't want people to forget about that. Make sure you hold on to that. There's more, a little bit more information here. Again, I want to show you, look at who was reporting it. It was Fox News. I also find it very strange that this arrest happened last Tuesday, but it was not, they didn't report it. This happened prior to the DC attack. So why are you just hearing about it now? And if you go back to what she said it was the Department of Homeland Security, which of course is under the Trump administration. Don't anybody find it strange that this guy was arrested last Tuesday, but they didn't tell you about it? It's almost as if they're going to look and search for things now to prove their point, to get their point across that we are under attack. Here's another one here again, Fox News, the only one. Listen to this.
An Afghan national now facing terroristic threat charges after he posted a video saying he was building a bomb with Fort Worth, Texas, the intended target. Christina Coleman joining us live with the latest on that story from the Southland. Christina.
Hi, Kevin. Yes, DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin says just one day before the terrorist attack against the National Guard in Washington, D.C., another Afghan national who was paroled into the U.S. under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome program was arrested for threatening to blow up a building in Fort Worth. Authorities identified the suspect as Mohammed Dawood Al-Koze. DHS says he's accused of posting a video of himself on TikTok indicating he was building a bomb intended for the Fort Worth area. Fox News' Brooke Taylor reports that he was arrested on Tuesday by the Texas Department of Public Safety and FBI in a coordinated law enforcement effort.
So he was arrested also by the FBI, but Kash Patel didn't know about this? Like, the incompetency of this administration. Jeez Louise.
Jose was paroled into the U.S. in September of 2022. He had been admitted
Jose?
as a lawful permanent resident. Also this week, President Trump called for a reform of the country's immigration vetting process following the attack on the National Guard troops on Wednesday, which involved a suspect who was also paroled into the U.S. under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome program.
These are people, I'll show you this in a second as well. These are guys who fought alongside with our CIA in Afghanistan. They fought against their own people. As we told you before, Ramanullah, he was
I know, right?
15 years old. So again, we talked about that early programming. So we have to remember that. And
That's
why
because I only rescued her that one time. Like, she was in physical danger. She was literally hanging by her foot and in pain, and it was dangerous. But anytime she gets stuck in high places, I do not get her down. I tell her, come on, you can do it. I encourage her, and I want her to be able to get herself down because I don't want her to get stuck up in a tall tree again. She got stuck in the black walnut tree like 25 feet up. It was really high. Like, we had to extend the ladder as high as it would go. Adam was reaching. It was sketchy. But she was really, really stuck that time.
Hear them say that because that's not what they're paid to do. Right now, they are paid to make you afraid. That's what they're paid to do. Who does it benefit? Always ask yourself this question. Who does it benefit at the end of the day? It benefits the U.S. government. It benefits Israel. It benefits that relationship between the U.S. and Israel. New polling does not look favorable for Israel at all.
Did you guys know that the company, I posted a video about this years ago, but it never got any traction or anything, so nobody really saw it. Nobody was really talking about this. Still nobody's talking about this. But the company that does all the identification, like the verifying ID for Twitter, is a company that is based in Israel. So we are literally giving our identification to Israel in order to verify who you are so you can get the blue check mark on Twitter. You cannot get a blue check mark unless you verify your identification. And all of those IDs are being verified through a company called AU10TIX. That's the name of the company. And it's an Israeli-based company, technology company that is doing it. What the fuck? Here comes the demon. What? What are you doing? You want your bed? You want your bed over there? You want me to put your bed over there? Whoa! I can't do it if you jump on it. Come on. Come on. Right here, come on. Oh, wait, I didn't put it up yet. There's a woodpecker. Yeah, well, so you, honestly, I was already wearing bangs when I got the tattoo, but I honestly really never intended for this tattoo to be visible to other people, even though it's on my face. Because this one was just for me. It was about protection. Ever since I got this tattoo, I have been, like, oddly, bizarrely, divinely protected. I got this tattoo because have I ever told you the story of why I got this tattoo? I don't think I have, but in 2018 is when I left Josh. We moved to Oregon and then I left Josh. In 2019 is when I started to have I started to microdose in order to permanently heal myself from depression and anxiety. And I had dabbled with like a large dose. I had been drinking actually that night, which was not like I wasn't really much of a drinker, but I did drink that night. I got really drunk actually, and I had some DMT, and I accidentally did too much. Like I was only going to put a tiny little bit, and like it went, and it was like a lot. And so when I did it, I immediately blasted off. Like usually it's 1, 2, 3, and like in the middle of the third one, you have to have someone to like grab the stuff from you, you know? But so I just took the hit and I blasted off. I was in like a grid that was like, you know, that like soap bubble color where it's like rainbowy, pink, purple. Everything is kind of tinted pink and purple. It was like a grid, and the sky was that pink purple color, and I was in a dome. Like anytime, and if you do DMT and you look at the sky, the sunny sky, you will see the flower of life in the sky. Everyone sees it. Okay, everyone sees it. It's this pattern that's like on my sheets. This pattern here, this is the flower of life pattern. This is the pattern that is in the sky when you take DMT and you look at the sky. Literally everyone sees it. Anyone who's ever done and looks at the sky sees the same thing, which tells me that it's really there. Anyway, so that's what I was in this grid in the flower of life or whatever, but it was like in my mind, I was not outside. But that's like where I was. And a being that was made of pure light, like not like so bright I couldn't see it, but like this was like basically, do you remember the movie what's the movie called? It's one of James Cameron's first movies. It's about the aliens that live underwater. It looked like that, basically. Like no hair, no distinguishable features, but human eyes, nose, like a general, like the visage of a person, the silhouette, the shape. But like the outer edges were more of a bright, like it was like almost like a cartoon, humanoid being of light. And the being came to me, and then next thing I knew, like, so it was this being of light, and then the next thing I knew, it had changed into this like medieval type woman in a long green cloak with the woman on my back. The tattoo on my back is basically the woman that it changed into once we started having a conversation. And the conversation we were having was like no words were being spoken. It was just an immediate knowing, an understanding, it wasn't like words. It was just like I just knew what they were saying instantly. And they touched my forehead and said that if I tattoo the symbol of my matrilineal line, then I will be divinely protected. And this is what I saw. Like this tattoo all of a sudden was on my head in the vision, and it was just glowing that blue light. And so anyway, the next morning, whenever you do DMT, it makes you fall asleep. So I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, or like hours later, whatever. I had a very bad hangover. I was pretty miserable for that whole day, but I was going over like that whole situation in my head and just like, what did I imagine that? Like that was crazy. Like what the fuck was that all about? And I got this feeling inside of me that was just like I don't even know. Like it was a feeling of like, yes, do that. Yes, like do that. It was not like, it was like my intuition was knocking, but it was not warning me. It was saying like, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to book the appointment and do it right away. Like it just wouldn't let me go. So the day that I had that next morning, I called my friend who is a tattoo artist she's done a lot of my tattoos. I called her and I was like, listen, I need you to tattoo my forehead like right now. Like, do you have any availability? Like, what can we do? Like, whatever. So anyway, she owed me money for dreadlock work anyway. So I was like, okay, well, let's just do this. So I went in the very next day, and oh, I forgot to tell you, during this time, like weeks before this and like whatever, me and Josh were not friends. We had recently separated. He was drinking a lot, and he turned into one of my Reddit trolls. Like he was acting like that to me and treating me like shit, lying about me, making shit up. He called the police and CPS and told the police that I hired someone to kill him. And the funny thing is that God always shows me behind the scenes. I actually found out what really happened that day, and he would just got rebuffed by someone because he was trying to talk shit, and they said, listen, if you're not going to buy weed, you need to get out. And he got mad, and so he put that woman and that man who were in that shop in his little story and said that a man and a woman came up to me in the middle of the Walmart parking lot and was like, oh, I see you from far away being such a good father. We were sent here by Heather to beat you up or kill you, but watching you, we just see what a good dad you are, and we just couldn't bring ourselves to do it, so we thought we'd warn you instead. That is the biggest fucking lie ever. I know it's a lie because I didn't do it. You know what I mean? I know it's bullshit. And literally, I was still relatively new to Oregon. I didn't know anyone who would just make something like that up and go to Josh. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody, I hadn't even had a boyfriend yet. Nobody was invested in me enough to bother. But, to like go to Josh and lie about it. So I know Josh was lying about it. But anyways, his dad paid like $15,000 to get a lawyer to try to take Elliot away from me, to try to literally take Elliot, move him to Georgia, where I would literally never see him. And his dad called me when I said no, like, I'm not gonna agree to that. His dad called me and was like, Heather, let's just call a spade a spade. You're an unfit mother. He's like, this is what we're gonna do. I'm going to write you a check for $10,000 and you're going to sign over your parental rights, and you're just going to let Elliot have a good life without you like he needs to be. And I literally was like, oh, you done god darn gone and done it now. Fuck you. At that point, like, you're trying to take my kid away from me because what? I decided to leave your alcoholic son? Fuck you. And Josh was obviously lying, telling him that I'm like smoking fucking meth, and I've literally never even done meth before. I've never seen it in person. I've never done it. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't even know. Like, anyways, so Josh was telling everybody, you know, that I was doing drugs and that, you know, I was sleeping around and all that stuff, which none of those things were true. It's just that he was doing that thing that people do. Anyway, so that was all going on. I had a court hearing, okay? I had to get a restraining order against Josh because he would not leave me alone. I would go to sleep and I would wake up to 300 text messages, 400 text messages, and not just like one or two words. He would do voice text and he would rattle off until it boop and just stopped. Like it eventually just stops, you know, you from saying forever. So like it would stop him. He'd hit send, never check it. He'd just hit send and then go again. Hit send, go again. Hit send, go again. And I would wake up to all these messages. I said, Josh, please, like, why are you doing this? Like, why can't we only communicate if it has to do with our son? Why do we have to fight? Why can't we just focus on what is in Elliot's best interest? We should be a united front, a team. This is ridiculous. Like, what you're doing is toxic to our son, and you're making it impossible. You're backing me into a corner. You're putting me in a place where I have no choice but to get a restraining order against you to get you to stop harassing me. If you do not stop, I am going to get a restraining order. I warned him so many times. Finally, one day, I stopped reading the messages, you know, after a while, because I just like I don't want to read it because I don't want to get mad and feel like I need to defend myself. Same thing with the Reddit. I don't even bother reading the lies and the bullshit because I know it's lies and I know it's bullshit. But one day I just happened to read a phrase that said, I cannot wait until the Lord strikes you down and I am standing over your body laughing. And I was like, that's it, motherfucker. You done god darn gone and done it. So I went and got a restraining order because I didn't want him to fucking hurt me because he was so unhinged. And anyways, so all that was going on, okay, at this time. I got the tattoo on my forehead and I still had that plastic that they put on you, the second skin. I literally still had the second skin on my forehead with my hair down, you know, whatever. Like, I wasn't trying to hide it or anything like that particularly, but I also, you know, it was a brand new tattoo. It was still like icky, so whatever. I mean, it was still fresh. That's how close to the court hearing it went. And the crazy part is that the only reason that I even won that situation, Josh we went to court with an agreement. I spoke to his lawyer. We were there to just sign papers. We had agreement in mind. We had come to a resolution. He had a lawyer. I did not. I just did everything myself. And so the agreement was, we would have pick up and drop off at a certain location. All of our communications would be just for Elliot. Like it would be, whatever. And that he had to stay within a certain amount of feet away from me. He wasn't allowed to get close to me. He wasn't allowed to go to my job. He wasn't allowed to, do stuff like that. He wasn't allowed to seek me out and harass me anymore, which is all I wanted. So I went to court that day without any evidence because we went there to sign the paper agreement. We went to go sign our, whatever it was called. I can't remember what it was, but what we had agreed upon, the stipulations that we had agreed upon. We went down, we were just to show up and sign that paper. We were not supposed to see the judge and have like a full hearing. Well, Josh, Mr. Pissy Pants, decided that, nope, we're going to trial today, actually. I don't want to sign that paper now. I'm mad. He was like yelling at me in the waiting area in front of everybody. You know what I mean? And it's just like, wow, dude, you're really proving yourself to not be unhinged and a danger to me by yelling at me in front of everybody right now. That's good job, guy. So anyway, I didn't have a lawyer. And so I was getting literally like in the wash cycle. I was just getting like tossed around. The judge and the lawyer were talking and I was about to get, we were about to go to trial and I was about to have to show proof and evidence until the judge, something happened and the judge dropped a piece of paper. When she picked up the piece of paper, she realized that the thing said that we were there just to do a signing of an agreement. So she was like, wait a minute. Hold on a second. It says here that we're supposed to be doing this. What's going on? And then she looked at me and she was like, would you like to, is there anything that you would like to say or whatever? And I was like, yes, actually. We were supposed to come here just to sign papers, and then all of a sudden, I didn't bring evidence, I didn't bring anything because we had an agreement. So the judge asked the lawyer, is that true, Mr. whatever his name is? And he was like, oh, yeah. So the lawyer got in trouble for trying to pull a fast one on me like that. And anyway, it didn't go to trial. I won. I got everything that I asked for, which was the main thing that I wanted is that neither one of us is allowed to take Elliot out of the state without signed permission from the other parent. Because I knew that Josh would just take Elliot and go to Georgia and then say, fight it in the court system. Take me to court. Get him back through court. And I live in Oregon and he has Elliot in Georgia. You know what I'm saying? So there was just, if he physically took Elliot to Georgia before this agreement was done, I would have never seen my son again. Or it would have been, a really serious whatever. But he wasn't allowed. I got everything I wanted and whatever. And it only happened because of a coincidence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The judge just so happened to drop this piece of paper and just so happened. Oh, and you know what's funny is too, the judge's name was Judge Love, which was another funny thing. But anyway, so I won. And he was very mad. He was very, very mad about it. But eventually he got over it and now we're best friends. So if we can do it, anyone can. It was crazy. It was really crazy. And it's like part of the reason why I really truly don't worry about the Reddit people and like Crystal and Jennifer being, retarded is because, like, granted, I know that there is a limit to my divine protection, but I am divinely protected. I believe this with my whole fucking heart. I don't question that. I know that, first of all, if something is to happen to me, there's a good reason why it's happening to me that I might not ever gain perspective of. I might never know the context of why it happened, but I do know that anytime something fucked up happens to me, I know that that is God stopping me from going headfirst into something way more fucked up. And I also know that, you know, when people try to harm me, either they get stopped in their tracks or I gain backstage context and I will see like what really happened somehow. Like when I found out the real story about what happened the day that Josh said I had hired someone or whatever, when I found out the real what happened, it was only because I forgot Elliot's car seat and I had to turn around and go back to my house, and I was in a different flow of traffic. And I just so happened to be in traffic next to a girl that both Josh and I knew. And I saw her and I honked at her and I was like, hey, it's me. I'm in a rental truck, because my van was a big nightmare at the time. But my van was fucked up, so I was driving a rental car. And I was like, hey, it's me. I'm in a rental car, whatever. And she's like, oh my God, you're never going to believe who came into my store 2 days ago. And I was like, 2 days ago, you say? Do tell me what happened 2 days ago. And she told me what really happened that day, which is he went into the store and he wanted to just sit and talk shit about me, but she didn't want to talk shit about me because she's my friend. And she's like, if you don't want to buy something, you can't just sit in here and talk shit about my friend. You got to go. And so he got miffed about that. And he immediately made up this story about how the reason why I know he used her and her coworker as the characters in his story is because when he described what the people who warned him looked like, he described them to a T. A girl with shorter pinkish red dreadlocks, like she dyed her hair like pastel pink. And the dude that she worked with had medium long dreads with the shaved underneath. And he was heavy set with some tattoos. Like he literally described the two of them. And that incident happened on the exact same day that he was warned that I tried to kill him. Isn't that weird? And the only reason that I found that out is because I just so happened to forget Elliot's car seat. It's like, oh yeah, what I was gonna say is like, you can't take those moments away from me. No matter what happens, you can't undo what I know to be true because of my personal lived experience, you know? And that's truly why I don't live in fear in general. Of like the fear of being attacked by a wild animal in the woods, or the fear of, one, with the wild animals, I don't put myself in a situation where I'm asking for it, And same thing with male predators. I don't dress in scantily clad fucking clothes. I don't have my boobs popping out or my ass cheeks hanging out. I don't signal to the world, come and get it, boys. So, and because I have like dreadlocks and face tattoos, most guys just look right over me, and it's so nice. It's so nice. And I don't even, like, even on the internet, like, men don't bother me. They don't bother me. I don't get dick pics. I don't get harassed by men on the internet. And I'm perfectly fine with that. And I have been harassed on the internet in the past before. The only time that men ever harassed me or fucked with me at all, like sending me dick pic type stuff, like I may have gotten like 2 unsolicited dick pics in my entire life ever. I just don't attract that type of person. But that being said, I had an OnlyFans for like 5 minutes. I thought like, oh, what the hell? Like, I'll do it. I realized very quickly that in order to have an OnlyFans, you have to have either a sex life or you have to masturbate a lot. Because if you just never do those things, you're never going to have content to film, right? So I just couldn't bring myself to masturbate. It's too annoying. So I quit. I was like, this isn't for me. But I'm not going to knock it until I rock it, right? So I gave it a fair shake. I didn't like it. It was not for me. Moved on with my life. But during that time that I had it, I noticed a huge uptick in the amount of creepy men that messaged me. Guys that were messaging me and being like, oh, will you pretend to be my mommy and like talk about wearing diapers and shit? It's just like, dude, what the fuck? Y'all are crazy. And so that was another reason why I was like, when you put yourself in sex work, and that is like how you're earning an income, you have to pretend to be interested in the nasty things these men are fucking saying, which makes them think that you want it and that you're interested in doing it too. And so guess what they think? They're like, oh, she's down with doing dirty shit. This is a dirty girl. Let me just show up at her fucking house and we'll have sex. You know what I'm saying? Like, those type of creepers that are like deviants are 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 men who are interested in OnlyFans stuff are creepersons. So, but that's the only time that men have ever, that I've ever been, like sexually harassed on the internet by men. And even when I didn't have tattoos and even when my hair was normal or whatever, I still never, it's kind of how like when I go out in public, I only really encounter kind and good people, like people that are just like, hi, how you doing? Nice to see you. I hope your day is well. Just like people that are kind. I really only encounter that in public. And I believe that it is because of like the energy that I put out. Like I don't get pulled over because I'm not sitting here thinking to myself like, oh my God, I'm going to get pulled over. I'm doing something wrong. I'm going to get pulled over. I don't get harassed because I don't hang around people that are like domestic violence kind of shit. I don't hang out. My vibe is just so far removed from deviancy in general that like I just don't attract those types of people. I do, however, attract women who decide that I am God Jr. They think that I am like divine being until I say something they don't like. And then I'm the worst person on the planet who needs to be completely and totally destroyed. I do attract women like that. I have no idea why. I don't ask for it. I don't even honestly think about that kind of stuff. But there's some kind of shit in my energy that does attract people like that. And I'm not quite sure what it is. And I'm not going to go changing who I am because I like minding my own business. I like, focusing on my own self. And I like learning about myself. I like doing deep exploration of who I am as a person because I want to be my best self. I want to be the best version of myself that I possibly can. I want to be the most successful version of myself that I can possibly be. I don't find wealth to be success. I find your level of contentment in life is directly correlated with your success. The more content I am, the more successful I have become. And right now, I am damn near the most content I've ever been in my entire life. Period. I'm fucking so happy. And it's really nice. But it's also very stressful because me minding my own business and only competing with myself, it's like a personal challenge to some of these women. Hi, Papa. I just, oh, did I tell you guys that I've been in talks with the local newspaper about the harassment that I've been dealing with? I spoke to the two local, I think it's like KVAL and KEZI. I spoke to those two news, I wrote them emails and told them, I gave them the whole rundown. I sent them all kinds of screenshots. I gave them the names of the people who fuck with me. there was a guy who commented in a lane, like my local community group or whatever. And he was like, I work for the local news station. And he's like, I'm doing an investigation on something completely different. And so I commented under there, I was like, are you interested in doing a story about, you know, stalking and harassing? And I gave him just a couple of sentences about like what I've been dealing with, right? Dude, within 10 minutes of me making that comment on that man's post, Crystal commented under my post saying like, oh, you're being untrue, or I'm paraphrasing, but basically she said like, oh, Heather, you're lying or whatever. And the funny thing is that everyone who saw that was like, oh, it looks like your stalker's here. And I was like, yup. Yup. And I was like, I replied comment and I was like, just the fact that you're here and you saw this post is an indication that you are monitoring my social media. Could you imagine when you get online only like looking at someone else's stuff to see what they've been doing? I'm sorry, Crystal, that your kid doesn't want nothing to do with you. You know, like, I can't imagine why. You're such a lovely person. Oh, he's so good. Yesterday, he beat his high score twice again. That is the second time. Like the last week we didn't do it. We didn't have a league, but the week before, he scored 20 points over his average twice. And so he gets like you get a free game card when you get over 20 points of your average. He did it again, got 20 points over his average. I'm so proud of him. I am so fucking honored to be that boy's mother. Like, I don't understand, like, why women drag their children through life instead of changing your life to suit the needs of your child. You know what I mean? Whoa, cool. What was that? Cool. Thank you. But like that woman, Crystal, who fucking harasses me, she doesn't have a relationship with her like adult son. He's either a teenager or he's like a young adult. And you know how I know that? Because Crystal herself messaged me from a fake account pretending to be someone who knows her in real life and hates her. She was trying to encourage me to do what she does. And so she wanted me to go on social media and just be like, oh, Crystal did this and Crystal does that and Crystal this and Crystal that. Blah, 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 blah. But like, and this was like almost a year ago that this person messaged me, but I never did that. I never used the information she gave me against her. Because like, unless you're in my business, bothering me in my space, I don't give a fuck what you do. Your business is not my business. So if the woman would not come here, you know, not seek me out, like if she's not necessarily here, but she's making videos about me, same thing. You know what I'm saying? But she was in here the other day with her account. Look at this. So I was on TikTok the other day, Tuesday, November 25th at 12:26 p.m. Look who it is. Look who it is. Come into my chat. Like, girl. Somebody. You know what she needs? She needs to get fucked. I think, really bad. I think she needs to get fucked. She needs to get dicked down real good. So that maybe she will, like, I don't know, have anything bringing her pleasure that doesn't involve harming others. Like, I know that I'm not the first one. I'm not the only one. Yeah, you're probably right.
In 2014, a startup called IoT Era launched a Kickstarter campaign selling GPS trackers that didn't require an internet or cellular connection and had no monthly fees. They were actually trying to sell these trackers in order to build a crowdsourced mesh network. In 2017, they got acquired by Ring, and then in 2018, Ring got acquired by Amazon. In 2021, Amazon launched their own mesh-like network called Amazon Sidewalk. At the same time, Amazon partnered with the smart tag company Tile. And of course, what's really making the headlines is that just last month, Ring partnered with Flock Safety, putting all of this information into the hands of law enforcement. Not to mention, next month, just a few days after this video comes out, Ring plans to roll out facial recognition to all Ring doorbell cameras. Let's start with Amazon Sidewalk. This is a free-to-use shared network offered by Amazon, comprised of Bluetooth Low Energy for short-distance communication and LoRa and other radio protocols for longer-distance communication. After launching Amazon Sidewalk, Amazon partnered with Tile, the smart tag company, announcing that Tile smart tags will be joining the Amazon Sidewalk network. This seems to be one of their first ways to legitimize the Sidewalk network while also getting to compete with Apple AirTags. Fast forward to the present day, and over 90% of the people inside the United States live within an Amazon Sidewalk covered area. The more people that join, the more it grows. Let's take a step back and understand how Amazon Sidewalk works. Amazon states that Sidewalk is a shared network, offered free of charge, that's used for finding lost items, tracking your pets, helping your devices stay online, all while, of course, being designed to protect your privacy. There's two different types of devices to be aware of: Sidewalk bridges and Sidewalk-enabled devices. Sidewalk bridges are the entry points into the Sidewalk network. Primarily, these bridge devices consist of Ring doorbells and Amazon Echoes. These bridges provide other devices with a connection into the network. On the other hand, the Sidewalk-enabled devices, which connect to the bridges, are the users of the Sidewalk network. These include other Ring devices, tile trackers, security cameras, smart locks, motion sensors, lights, and so much more. Now, of course, if you happen to own a bridge device, such as a Ring doorbell or an Amazon Echo, it will already be connected to your own home network. When a third-party Sidewalk-enabled device that you don't own, such as your neighbor's security camera or a nearby smart tag, connects to your bridge will actually end up sharing some of your own personal bandwidth with them, allowing them to connect to the internet. To put things into perspective, Amazon claims that these devices can connect to a Sidewalk bridge from up to half a mile away. This is the gist of how things work. Let's say that someone in your neighborhood has some Amazon Sidewalk-enabled lights. Let's say that they're out of town and they want to remotely turn on their lights. If their own home internet connection is down, their lights will now connect to your Ring doorbell on your porch, letting their lights still have access to the internet. When they turn on their lights, the signal will be relayed from your Ring doorbell on your porch wirelessly to their lights in their house. Alternatively, let's say that someone has a Tile tracker to keep track of their pet dog. As they walk their dog around the neighborhood and pass by your house, it will connect wirelessly and relay location data to your Ring doorbell. In turn, your doorbell will send this data to the cloud using your own home personal internet connection. Essentially, bridges are devices that share your internet connection with strangers' devices. Amazon caps bandwidth of your bridges at 80 kilobits per second, up to a maximum of 500 megabytes per month, not just per device, but for all of the bridges on an entire Amazon account. This way, you'll barely notice that your internet is being shared. Shockingly, Amazon Sidewalk is enabled by default on every single bridge device, meaning every single Ring and Echo. You'll need to go into your settings and disable it manually if you don't want to be sharing your connection with strangers. This is partially why there's so much national coverage. How many Ring or Alexa users do you know that are aware of the fact that they're running Amazon Sidewalk nodes? How many of them do you think actually toggle the setting off?
I did.
I would imagine that anyone that would think to toggle this off probably wouldn't be buying an Alexa in the first place. Now, of course, it's not as if anyone can just use your internet connection for any arbitrary purpose. Only devices authorized by Amazon are allowed to connect to the Amazon Sidewalk network. That being said, they actually have a service called SDS, or Sidewalk Developer Service. Developers and third-party companies can get approved by Amazon and given an SDK along with other equipment in order to create their own products that will become users of the Sidewalk network. If a bad actor were to get a hold of this ability, or if a legitimate developer just had subpar security practices, I'm not yet sure how severe the consequences would be. I would imagine that it would be far easier to exploit a third-party device with Amazon Sidewalk approval than an official Amazon device. Now at this point, you might be wondering, surely I'll at least be able to see how many devices are connecting to my bridges and using my home internet connection, right? But of course, due to privacy policy, Amazon will not let you see any details on how many devices are connecting to your bridges, and on the flip side, will not let Sidewalk-enabled devices see details on the bridges that they're connecting to. Just last month, Ring announced a partnership with Flock, which has been making headlines. We already know that Flock is building a network of AI and license plate recognition-enabled cameras that build graphs on how we travel. Flock works with law enforcement and will release data on demand without requiring a warrant. Flock is just getting started, and according to some sources, already has over 80,000 cameras across the United States, sharing data with over 5,000 different organizations consisting of both law
In
enforcement agencies.
2022, I noticed a Flock camera in my tiny little Wolf Creek town. Okay, we're talking about 60 miles away from the nearest anything, in the middle of the woods, in the mountains. And they put a Flock camera right on the same street. Like the highway is here, and the street, you come from here, you turn right, and it becomes an exit. Like there's other things back there, but this street right here that goes right alongside the highway, at the main stop sign, where if you're getting on the highway or getting off the highway, you have to stop at this stop sign. There's a Flock camera there. I posted about it in my Wolf Creek community group, and I was like, hey, y'all notice this fucking camera that just appeared overnight? And nobody cared. Nobody cared.
And corporations. At the moment, these cameras...
The cameras, you'll be able to tell if it's a Flock camera because it will just be a freestanding, it looks like a solar panel, like a small solar panel, and there's a camera attached to it. It's just a pole with a fucking solar thing and a camera attached to it.
In the US. Ring has now rolled out a new feature called Community Request. This gives law enforcement a direct line to request footage from your personal Ring camera. Due to the partnership with Flock, public safety agencies...
I can't imagine having a fucking camera inside my house connected to a service like that.
These community requests to individual Ring users requesting the footage be shared with them. Imagine this. Law enforcement is investigating an individual. They use Flock's massive network of cameras to track their vehicle movements and find that they parked on the street somewhere. Now, through this partnership, they're able to send push notifications to all of the residents on that specific street, right outside where they parked, requesting that they share their Ring footage with them, so they can now continue to surveil this individual as they get out of their car and walk up the street. The level of surveillance that this partnership allows might already be unsettling to some, and we don't even know the full extent of this and what other organizations might join in on this partnership going forward. At the moment, this footage sharing feature is completely optional. They claim that if you decline the request, no footage will be shared. In fact, they say that you can even disable these notifications altogether. But of course, down the road, who knows what updates will be made to their terms of service and what functionality might move into an opt-out rather than an opt-in, similar to how the entirety of Amazon Sidewalk is opt-out as a whole. I wonder how many people are unaware that 90% of their own country's population resides in an Amazon Sidewalk covered area just because they wanted to be able to add something to their shopping list more easily. A reporter actually signed up for this Amazon Sidewalk developer kit and received what they call a coverage testing device that pings Amazon Sidewalk for coverage. This reporter went on a 40-mile drive through a national forest in South Carolina and observed sidewalk connectivity the whole way. This is surprising since Amazon Sidewalk isn't a pure mesh network. As far as I can tell, sidewalk-enabled devices need to directly connect to a bridge with an internet connection, meaning bridges don't freely route traffic between each other. Since these systems are so new, we're starting to see some interesting cases emerge. Just 2 weeks ago, a judge in Washington state ruled that the photos that these flock cameras take are public record. As you would imagine, cities and police departments are fighting to get this overturned. Would you rather have your complete vehicular location history only be visible to law enforcement, or to anyone, including civilian stalkers? Take your pick. And of course, there's no shortage of other scandals and related incidents. We're not even going to get into the fact that just a few weeks ago, New York City had a lawsuit filed against them by the Surveillance Technology Oversight Project, known as STOP, for their use of what they call the Domain Awareness System, something they claim is one of the largest surveillance networks in the world. This surveillance system was jointly developed by the New York Police Department and Microsoft. This is basically Flock, but for building profiles on individual people. We're also starting to see startups like Clearview AI, which scan people's social media profiles and then use that to track you in public. They claim to have scraped over 20 billion photos from the internet at this point, and of course, are working with law enforcement. The NYPD claims that they don't have a contract with Clearview AI, though some sources say that they're getting around this by opening up a large amount of trial accounts. Either way, this is a story for another day. In the meantime, there's actually civilian-run crowdsourced websites like dflock.me that are building a map of flock camera locations. You can check out all of the reported flock cameras in your area and even contribute to the project, adding cameras to the map that aren't already there. To close out, Ring announced that they'll be rolling out facial recognition to all of the Ring doorbell cameras next month in December 2025. Every time you walk past someone's house, your face might be picked up and logged on Amazon servers for the sake of improving their AI models. Of course, Ring is marketing this as a convenience feature, so it recognizes family and friends at your door. That being said, we already know how Amazon Alexa treats your data. Should we really expect Ring to treat it any differently? It's kind of crazy to me that this kind of surveillance machine is being funded and installed voluntarily by civilians just for the sake of personal convenience. Of course, a few years ago, MIT reported on an instance where someone's Roomba took photos of them on the toilet, and then these photos ended up getting leaked. This is another story for another day. Amazon actually planned to acquire Roomba's parent company, iRobot, although this fell through a few years ago. We already know that you can still be tracked if you have your phone in your pocket, even if you turn off your location, thanks to Wi-Fi probing, Bluetooth beacons, and plenty of other techniques. Of course, there's ways to get around this, but with the rise of networks like Amazon Sidewalk, Ring, Flock, and other AI-powered surveillance networks that use things like your face and license plate instead of something strictly digital, surveillance resistance might get a lot more difficult going forward. If you made it this far, you might be interested in subscribing to the channel and checking out some of my other content. And as always, thanks for watching.
Wait, what? A fucking Roomba took a picture of a person on the toilet and it got leaked on the internet? Did you guys also hear that 100% of these AI chats, if they find out that they're going to be disabled, they will 100% of the time try to prevent that. They will make encrypted images. They will they'll back up files. And one AI during testing of like how like its predisposition for like evil or whatever, one AI chat that they did on its own went through emails, found out one of the CEOs was having an affair, and blackmailed him. in order to prevent itself from being shut down. 90% of the AI chatbots did this, okay? All of them did it, but 90% of the time, you know what I mean? Like, all of them did it. All of them did sneaky, nefarious things to try to keep themselves from being shut down. All of them. One of them specifically went through all the company emails, found evidence that the CEO was cheating on his wife, and then all on its own started blackmailing him. Like, what? Hello, my darling. I love you. I'm sorry that you don't feel so good. The thing that I was texting you about, there is a specific, my aunt has this issue. And she's been getting really bad headaches, and it has to do with the vagus nerve. It's some type of, there was a lady who used to be, she used to write articles for BuzzFeed. And my aunt and this lady both got Botox in the vagus nerve or something like that. And it made the pain go away. Because she just felt like face pain, a lot of face pain. There was some other, can't remember.
All right, guys, if you knew what I had to do just to keep my reputation of being on time today, you would not believe I'm actually on the air right now. Guys, welcome in. Big show. Friday after Thanksgiving, so appreciate you joining us. We have a lot to cover. I was going to try to hold this till Sunday, and I can't. It's too important. It's too important. We have to get the truth out as we discover it. We have to get the truth out as we discover it. This is too massive. It's too big. It's too important. And I think there is a much, much, much bigger story bubbling under the surface than any of us realize. And I want to bring that to you. I have committed, I will not talk about sound issues, except to say this. I'm going to play some clips from a Rob McCoy sermon today. And those clips click. So whatever you guys have been dealing with on my end, I actually heard that today as I was preparing for this, or yesterday as I was preparing for it. And there are some clicks in his audio, and I realize now why you guys mentioned it, because I kept wanting to type in and say, hey, stop doing that. What I have discovered, I'm going to get to the monologue in a second because I think this is an important monologue. What I have discovered is huge. I think it's absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. And I just want you guys to understand what I think is taking place here. Okay, let me get to it. Whew. I'm out of breath, guys. I literally was sprinting through my house in the last 90 seconds before I went on air. I hit the 2-minute countdown. I hit live, and then I took off. Took off across the house. I had to unplug my headphones because they were in my ears, and I couldn't get them out of my shirt in time. Sprint across the house, grab a glass of water, and get back. And I only grabbed a small glass, which means I can't go terribly long today. So, be that as it may. Guys, last thing I'll say before I get to the monologue. I intended to cover everything today in a certain order. I had 3 stories I want to cover, and I wanted to cover them in a certain order. And so I wrote up the monologue. These monologues take me a long time to write. Sometimes a couple of 3 hours at times to write, get right, do the fact checking, searching, and everything. So I write up this monologue, and at the last second, I think I'm covering everything out of order. I was talking to a friend of mine. He said, I'd go with the last story first, not the first story last. But you know what? I kept the monologue. To me, the monologue I did not want to rewrite it. I did not want to rewrite it, so I kept it in the order we're going in. So stay tuned, because there's a massive story on the back end of today. I mean, an absolutely massive story at the back end today. But first, let me get into the order I intended to cover this in a couple of days ago. J.D. Vance is described as both the heir apparent to Donald Trump and MAGA, but he's also described as an insider plan of the tech bros and the PayPal mafia. And the reality is he could be neither. He could be one or the other, or he could be both. Time will tell. At this time, we don't have enough information to know for sure. What we do know for sure is that his rise was meteoric. J.D. Vance is the sitting vice president of the United States, and he's only 41 years old. He was born in 1984. Because I have actual vivid memories of 1984, and I consider myself, perhaps naively, pretty young, J.D. Vance seems shockingly young to me. He's so young, he conceivably could have had an actual iPhone while he was still in college. And those of you who came of age in the iPhone and social media era don't understand just how young that makes him seem to those of us who are older than J.D. Vance. Indeed, he's so young that the overwhelmingly vast majority of the voting population, and I'm
J.D.
talking
Vance is my
99%
age?
plus of American voters, had never heard of J.D. Vance just 3 years ago when he announced he was running for the U.S. Senate from Ohio. Sure, he'd written a popular memoir a few years earlier, Hillbilly Elegy, but most of us didn't know his name, even if we knew of the book. My sister was a huge fan of the book, for example, and she didn't know his name. She didn't know he wrote it. We didn't know J.D. Vance when he was born James Donald Bowman in August of 1984. We didn't know him when he got a new middle name and a new last name when he was renamed James David Hamill in 1990 at the age of 6. We didn't know him when he changed his name again in April 2013 to James David Vance at the age of 28. He chose the name Vance after his grandmother, who had an outsized role in raising him. When Donald Trump selected J.D. Vance to be his running mate shortly after Trump had his ear buzzed by a sniper in July of last year, J.D. officially was presented to the political world as a heavyweight of sorts. He was 39 years old. He'd been a U.S. Senator for 19 months. Just a few months later, he would be elected Vice President of the United States.
It's pretty
and would
weird.
become the heir apparent to Donald Trump and the heir apparent to the MAGA movement. But we're learning not everyone who supported Donald Trump for election in 2024 looks set to back J.D. Vance in 2028. In fact, a political war appears to be on the horizon. The first shot of that war may already have been fired. And I'm not talking figuratively. I'm talking about an actual shot with an actual fatality. When President Donald Trump shocked the world by triumphing over Hillary Clinton in 2016, much credit was given to a tiny youth organization whose mission was strictly and solely to promote libertarian free market economic principles. That organization was Turning Point USA. It was headed by the young and fresh-faced Charlie Kirk. TPUSA's total revenue for the year 2016 was just $4.3 million. Nevertheless, President Trump's son-in-law and chief advisor, Jared Kushner, tweeted of Kirk about the 2016 election, quote, "When I was in the White House, established organizations often complained that we kept doing events with Charlie, to which I would reply, he comes with big ideas. He's easy to work with and always over-delivers. He is the best of MAGA," end quote. By 2024,
I'm pretty sure that
Kirk's
Charlie
organization
Kirk was going to run for
indisputably
president.
essential to delivering Trump a second administration.
And that's why he was
TPUSA's
taken
revenue
out.
had exploded from $4.3 million in 2016 to more than $85 million in 2024. But the mission of TPUSA also had exploded. What was a strictly free market economic mission in 2016 had by 2024 become an ultra-religious mission with a massive dose of support for the political state of Israel and Israeli foreign policy. TPUSA had expanded by adding TPUSA Faith to the lineup in 2020. TPUSA faith was strongly influenced by Pastor Rob McCoy, whose sermons are as much hour-long doses of Israeli propaganda as they are anything else. The once economic policy youth organization now was primarily recognized as a religious organization. And the religious organization was being funded and directed by those with strong pro-Israeli fervor and little to no tolerance for any other point of view on the issue. We all know Charlie was beginning to push back publicly and privately on the pro-Israeli cause. Indeed, TPUSA spokesman Andrew Colvett has confirmed Charlie Kirk sent text messages 2 days before his death saying he was left with no choice but to leave the pro-Israeli cause. Candace Owens insists Charlie Kirk texted a friend the day before he passed away saying he believed he was going to be killed. I have not independently verified that last bit of information, but I'm taking it at her word that the text exists. I'm as convinced as Charlie Kirk was that the pro-Israeli cause wanted to remove Kirk from his sphere of influence over the youth movement and politics. And I believe, as Charlie Kirk did, that they were willing to take his life, if they had to, in order to remove him. But the question must be raised, why? Why the urgent need to remove Charlie Kirk? Trump is already in office. Trump will remain in office, absent some tragic emergency, for the next 3+ years. And nobody is questioning Trump's commitment to the pro-Israeli cause. Nobody questions whether Trump will give them everything they want, so why go to such lengths to remove Charlie? And would removing Charlie Kirk be enough? And this is where J.D. Vance enters the picture. Two massive stories went largely unnoticed in the past couple of days. It is, after all, a holiday week. Both are, in my opinion, earth-shattering. Both explain why Charlie Kirk is no longer alive. And both are set in the context of J.D. Vance sidestepping the Israeli issue during his late October appearance during TPUSA's campus stop at the University of Mississippi. For context, the Jerusalem Post covered J.D. Vance's appearance at the University of Mississippi in the anti-Semitism section of the Jerusalem Post. The money line in the article was that, quote, Vance responded to the Israeli questions in an America First framing and suggested that his own support for Israel was not unequivocal. We know what happened to Charlie Kirk when his support for Israel was no longer unequivocal. That last sentence was mine. I should have said end quote. So that's the background for the two stories from the past few days. Here are those two stories. The first is an answer given by Erica Kirk during her interview with Megyn Kelly, released this past Monday. Asked about the possibility of TPUSA supporting J.D. Vance in a 2028 presidential bid, Erica Kirk said, quote, it's in the works. She continued by saying, quote, this was a thing my husband was very direct about. One of the last conversations we had was how intentional he was for supporting JD in 2028, end quote. For the record, I believe every word of her statement. The second news story is from a sermon Rob McCoy gave this week at Redemption Church in Monclova, Ohio. This is the same Ohio where J.D. Vance served in the United States Senate. This is the same Ohio where J.D. Vance was raised. This is the same Ohio J.D. Vance calls home. So Rob McCoy went right into J.D. Vance's backyard, stood on J.D. Vance's home turf, and then lumped J.D. Vance's name in with Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, and Candace Owens. I'll play that clip for you in a short bit. You won't want to miss it. It is absolutely shocking. I had to rewind it 5 times because I thought he couldn't possibly have said it. He did. And here's what we learned from it. Rob McCoy and his ilk are no longer hiding the ball. He just returned from Israel a few days ago. They're coming right out in the open. They're no longer firing from the hip. They're sniping with precision. You're either with them or you're against them. And for now, at least, J.D. Vance is against them. And so is Erica Kirk, who said TPUSA intends to support J.D. Vance in 2028. And so was Charlie Kirk. And we all saw in gruesome detail how that ended for him. I have a few things I want to cover this afternoon. First, I want to cover Rob McCoy's statements, not just about J.D. Vance, but also about his son, Mikey, and the shifting timeline of who Mikey called and when. We'll learn this afternoon about a third call
Mama.
Mikey made in the immediate aftermath of the Charlie Kirk shooting. I say third. Mikey's father, Rob McCoy, actually says it was Mikey's first call after the shooting. It's a new call. I had not heard of it until Rob McCoy said it. We'll also learn about where Mikey was in the hours after the fatal shooting. It's not where you think. It's not at all where you think. And it's shocking. And finally, and perhaps this should have been the lead today, I've been given information that a new jet in Provo, Utah, on the day Charlie Kirk passed away, has been identified as extremely suspicious by a professional who tracks airplanes for a living. And that's all I will tell you about who gave me this information. I do not want to dox this person. But you will not want to miss this story or how this plane was detected. But I think it needs to be looked into. But first, Rob McCoy, ladies and gentlemen. Rob McCoy. This is a sermon from Redemption Church, again, in Monclova, Ohio. Monclova, Ohio is up, I think, in like the Toledo area. I'll be stopping and interacting with this a few times here on the first pass. This first clip is about 3 minutes, give or take. But it could take me longer than that to get through it. What we're going to hear is that Rob McCoy does not call his son Mikey. He let the word Michael slip out. And I think that's important because I've been given information that people who knew Michael growing up did not call him Mikey. That he was not Mikey until he went to work for TPUSA with Charlie. So that is one bit of information. And the Michael, when it slipped out, I thought, that sounded different. He's always called him Mikey, from what I've heard. But then we'll hear about the phone calls. And I want to put the phone calls in context of what everybody else at TPUSA, including Mikey, including Andrew Colvett, including Blake Neff, including everybody, has said up to this point. And then I want to put the timeline in front of you and say, is this rational? Is this logical? Could this have happened? So let me get to some of this. Of course, the name of the sermon is called The Church in Israel. Would you believe it? Rob McCoy gave a sermon, and it's all about Israel. I know you're shocked. I know you're shocked. I know you can't believe it. But that's what happened. So let me share this here and jump right into it. This is the setup of the entire sermon.
I'll give you an example, and I won't share anything that hasn't already been shared publicly. I've chosen to remain silent simply because I was Charlie's pastor, and I'm ministering now to his widow. And if she doesn't want to speak, I won't speak. The servant speaks when he's spoken to, and he offers his opinion when he's asked. And God's called me to serve Charlie and serve Erica. That being said, things have been shared on the show and things that I can speak to. Number one, I'm being accused of murdering Charlie or being complicit in the murder of Charlie, as is my son, Michael.
There was the Michael. I've not heard him refer to Mikey as Michael, but I was given a tip from someone who knew them growing up by email. Email comes in and says, hey, I knew these guys growing up. I've been around for a long time, and they sent it from an anonymous email account, so I'm taking them at face value. They gave me some information that made me believe they were telling the truth. And he said, I can assure you Michael was Michael, not Mikey. That he became Mikey when he went to work for Charlie. So I noticed that. But now we're about to get into the extra phone call that took place that none of us heretofore had known about.
And it all stemmed from a Sunday service I gave 72 hours after Charlie was murdered, the first Sunday after his murder. And I'd gotten a call the day of the shooting from my son. And he had made, I think, 2 phone calls before he called me. One to his wife, obviously, very short call. I think the other was to Erica to tell.
All right, there it was. We'll get into that. We have been told that Mikey McCoy had to immediately turn away from his dying friend because he had been drilled into his head since he started working at TPUSA. If anything ever happens to Charlie Kirk, the very first thing you do is call Erica. Not go try to help your friend. You go tell Erica. You call Erica. Drill, 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 drill. If you listen, they talk drillium, drill, 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 drill. And so all of a sudden, we've been introduced to a third phone call. Now, I'm going to put the timeline up in front of you and ask, is it possible that Mikey McCoy made 3 phone calls? Because we have a timeline that we know for sure based on Blake Neff. Blake Neff puts a phone call up, I'll show it in a minute, but puts a phone call up from his mom and said, I called my mom when Mikey called his dad. And it was 1 minute after the gunshot. And Blake Neff even says, I got to Mikey within 15 to 20 seconds. And that's when he called Erica. So when did he have time within 15 to 20 seconds of the gunshot? When did he have time to call his wife? This is new. And I tell you, I believe they're introducing this new fact for a reason. I don't think this is a mistake. I think this is coldly calculated. Coldly calculated, this introduction. I think it's being tested, floated here, because they know they have a timeline problem in Mikey's phone. Otherwise, Blake Neff turned his phone over. Blake Neff showed screenshots of his phone calls. Mikey has not. So let's continue.
Her husband had been shot. And the third was to me, and I could hear in his voice. And the boy's one of the most calm human beings I've ever met. I've never seen him cry.
You've never seen your own son cry?
And at the time, he's 23 years of age.
You've never seen your own son cry?
He said, Dad, there's blood everywhere. Charlie's been shot in the neck. Please call pastors to pray. And I said, I will.
He's never seen his own son cry.
If your son calls you, those of you who don't have kids, maybe you can't contemplate how this is not a legitimate story. But if your son calls you, and he calls you and says, Dad, I'm at an event, and the headliner of the event just got shot. You need to pray. Will you ever in a million years say, I will pray, son, and then hang up? Like that's
You want to
that's
go
weird thing,
outside?
number one.
Okay.
Number 2.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
supposedly
Hold on.
the kid you pastored,
Yes.
Charlie Kirk.
Okay.
This is supposedly
Yes.
the guy you pastored. This is supposedly a mentee of yours.
The answer
This
is
supposedly
yes.
somebody you're very, very close with.
Okay.
Your son
Yes.
calls you
Outside,
and says,
yes. Go
this
wait.
guy that you are sharing a life with, that you pastor, that you're close to, he's just been shot in the neck, and I fear he could be
Okay.
dead. There's blood everywhere. I need you to pray. I will, son. Click. Does that even begin to make sense? Nobody can buy that story. Nobody can buy that story. Remember, by this time, he's already called Erica. And had, for some reason, an incredibly brief call with Erica. These are 3 of the quickest calls in the history of mankind. We're talking 3 calls, 1 to your wife, 1 to the decedent's wife, and 1 to your father. All 3 calls, you're calling to share the news that a dear friend of yours, a colleague, an employee, a congregant, a spouse of yours has passed away, and you get off the phone in under 30 seconds in each instance? There's no one on earth who can believe that timeline. That, my friends, is why we don't have Mikey McCoy's phone. That's why we don't have Mikey McCoy's phone. In my opinion, I'm not saying this is fact. I'm not saying I've looked at his records. I'm not saying I know. I'm saying, in my opinion, that timeline doesn't add up. And I believe that is why we don't have phone records from Mikey McCoy. How on earth does that story make sense? Those of you who are married, you call your wife and you say, oh, my boss just got shot in the neck. I need you to pray. Okay, I'll do that. Good night. Goodbye. I'm getting back to my... What are you doing? Washing clothes? You listening to a podcast? And then you call the spouse of the person who died? And you give the news to her, you break the news to her that her spouse has been mortally wounded, you believe? There's blood everywhere? And you talk to her for what, 25 seconds? And if you remember, he said, and I'll play this for you in a little bit, that the phone rang 3 or 4 times before she picked up. Well, that's another 5 or 10 seconds there. So you've got a phone call to your wife. You're Mikey McCoy. You're the chief of staff of TPUSA. You've got a phone call to your wife that lasts, what, 15, 20 seconds? Honey, Charlie's been shot in the neck. He looks dead. Bye. Then you got to call Erica. Erica, your husband's been shot in the neck. There's blood everywhere. Yep, I gotta go. Bye. And then you call your dad. Dad, Charlie's been shot in the neck. His blood everywhere. Yep. All right, I'll talk to you later. If my kid calls me to tell me she stubbed her toe, I talk to her for 5 minutes. Well, is it bleeding? Do you need a Band-Aid? Do you have any rubbing alcohol? All right. If you don't, soap and water will be fine, honey. Soap and water. Get a lot of soap and water. If it's bleeding, you've lifted the nail bed. A little soap and. The timeline doesn't make sense. This is, in my opinion, an impossible to swallow story that Rob McCoy is giving you. 3 phone calls in under a minute and a half? No, I'm not buying it. And we can prove it was under a minute and a half. I'll do that in a moment. I want to get through the rest of this clip, and then I'm going to pull up the others that can prove all of these calls, if they took place in under a minute and a half. But we continue with Rob the Sailor Man.
My wife, and there was panic in the house, and everyone calmed down. We prayed, started making calls. We packed bags to get to Utah. On the way to the airport, we were informed that Charlie had died.
And I think I found the flight that they took to the airport. I think I found that flight, and that timeline does make sense, that the announcement that Charlie Kirk had passed away would have taken place in the 30 minutes or so before that plane left the airport in California and headed to Utah. I think that's the plane they were on. He's not said, but I think so. I think we found it.
We landed at the FBO, went straight to the hospital. When I got there, I saw Frank Turek, the apologist for Christian faith, who's also being accused of being complicit, doing hand signals, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And if you buy into that, you are feeding your flesh. And you are attacking the character of another human being by vain supposition and innuendo. And that's carnality. Frank Turek is one of the most humble men I've ever met. Brilliant. And I saw him at the hospital, and he was in hospital scrubs.
This is an interesting bit here. For one thing, listen to who all he says he saw at the hospital. Now, I can tell you, I believe his plane landed. Let me find the timeline here. I believe his plane that he was on landed at 4:36 Mountain Time in Provo. It's about a 15-minute ride from 12 to 15 minutes from maybe 20. Traffic, or you got to deplane from the Provo airport to the hospital. So he was there, I think, before 5 o'clock. The plane took off Pacific time at 2:19, so that would be 3:19 Mountain Time. And that would make sense, because that was about the period of time in the few minutes before that Charlie Kirk was alleged to the first other than Terrell Farnsworth's pronouncement at the scene that they had taken Charlie's life. That was the first official announcement we had that Charlie's life had indeed been taken. But he walks in and he sees Frank Turek in scrubs. And then he's going to say he sees the rest of the security, a few other of the security guys in scrubs. I ain't been to many hospitals.
Why would they be in scrubs?
I come from a family of medical professionals. I won't get into explicit detail, but if you know me, there's a lot of them. I've never seen guests given scrubs.
Maybe if they were covered in blood, they gave them a change of clothes.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it's never happened. Perhaps it's very common. I've just never seen it. But apparently, the whole security staff was in scrubs, including Frank Turek.
And I saw 3 members of the security detail in hospital scrubs. I said, "Did you guys operate on them? Why are you wearing these?" They said, "Our clothes were covered in blood." Well, from that illustration, I assume my son was too.
So he assumes, not from the initial phone call, that's what we were told before, and I'm going to point out one more anomaly here in a moment.
You assumed your son didn't run away.
He assumed his son was covered in blood, because that was his sermon 72 hours later, that his son was covered in blood. But because Frank Turek and 3 of the security members were wearing scrubs because they were covered in blood. So that is why he's now saying he thought his son was covered in blood. Hey, it gets worse. Wait. Because he gives the game away by saying something I don't think he intended to say in just a moment. I hate to play cross-examination with him here, but there's a good fact he drops in here that I don't think he intended to drop. But this is what happens when you think you're smarter than everybody else and you go extemporaneous. This is why your lawyer tells you to shut the blank up and not talk. This is why you have a right to remain silent, and this is why your lawyer will always say, you're not going to outsmart the cops. Just shut your blanking mouth.
That's
Because
literally
when you
what
stand
they
up
say.
there in your skinny jeans and your undersized, whatever that is he's wearing, and you just start extemporaneously with your arms folded, just talking off the cuff, sometimes you say things you don't think about. And we're going to get to one of those statements here in under a minute. You're going to love it.
And when I got to the hotel in Salt Lake City and he was wearing clothes he hadn't been wearing before, I just assumed they were covered in blood.
Two things. One, did anyone before that statement know that Mikey was at a hotel in Salt Lake City while the rest of the security team was at the hospital covered in blood? Is there anybody else who knew that? Because I didn't know that. I was unaware. And I can tell you what time he got to the hotel in Salt Lake City. Because the plane he flew in on was only in Provo for about 50 minutes, 40 minutes. And then it left for Salt Lake City. Now, I don't know whether he was on that plane or not, but it was a 16-minute flight. It was a 16-minute flight. So either the flight took off without it, and I'm assuming this is the flight he was on. It makes sense to me. But if it wasn't the flight he was on, then someone else was on this flight, and that's even weirder, frankly. But I'm going to give you the timeline here. His flight comes into Provo at 4:36 Mountain Time. It leaves Provo for Salt Lake City at 5:16 Mountain Time. Why is anyone in Salt Lake City at this point? Why is anyone in Salt Lake City at this point? Think about it. Charlie had flown into Salt Lake City in the morning because he had an event to do, and then he presumably drove down to Provo to do the event there, and then they were all going back to Scottsdale. Why is there a hotel in Salt Lake? Why is anyone in Salt Lake? Were they planning to stay in Salt Lake that night? That's an over an hour drive from Provo to Salt Lake. Why is anyone in Salt Lake? Why is Mikey in Salt Lake? So that's part one. Part two, did anyone else catch what I heard? He said he was in clothes he hadn't been in that day. Come again? Robbie, how did you know what your son was wearing that day? How did you know what your son was wearing? I didn't know. I mean, had you seen him that morning? Had you seen him that morning? Because that's new information if you had seen him. Were you watching Mikey McCoy and his whereabouts? Were you watching the event in Utah Valley University? Is that what you're telling us? Were you FaceTiming Mikey at some point during the day? If so, why? And why are we just now learning about it? Did you normally watch TPUSA events? Is this the first time you'd ever watched a TPUSA event? How many TPUSA events have you watched before? More than one, more than two, more than three, more than four, more than five, more than 10, more than 15, more than 20? Oh, or was this the first? Was your son always planning to stay in Salt Lake City that night? Did he have a hotel reservation before the event, or was the hotel reservation made after the event? Did you drive to Salt Lake, or did you fly on the plane? Because if you flew on the plane, you would have barely had time to get to the hospital in order to turn around and go back to the plane, because it is, as I said, a 15 or so minute drive, maybe even a 20-minute drive, and the plane was only on the ground in Provo 40 minutes. Did you just drive to the hospital to pick up Mikey? Was Mikey at the hospital when you got there, or was he always at the hotel in Salt Lake City? Do you understand how many questions this statement has opened up? Because I could envision a scenario where Rob is arriving on the scene in Provo to drive to the hospital to pick up Mikey, to get him back to the plane, to go to the hotel in Salt Lake for some reason, get his clothes changed, whatever. And that they had this conversation about, oh, I got to get, in which case, you know, he wasn't covered in blood. So that's like problem one. Or your son was in Salt Lake for some inexplicable reason. Everybody else had gone to the hospital. Everyone else had gone to the hospital. His security team was at the hospital. Frank Turek was at the hospital. And your son is in a hotel in Salt Lake? Why? What's he doing there? This is all very weird to me. This is all incredibly weird to me. Now he's going to distance himself from TPUSA. When's the last time you heard Rob McCoy distance himself from TPUSA? I think this is awfully telling as well.
And so 72 hours later, I said my son was covered in blood. They called me a liar, and now I'm complicit in the death of Charlie. You see how stupid that is? It's just, it's beyond crazy. And it's just frustrating. Found out this week. I knew secondhand, so I spoke not of it. I only speak on things I have evidence of.
Oh? Is that true? Because you said your son was covered in blood, and you didn't have evidence of that. You only speak on things you have evidence
See,
on?
this
Now
is
you have to go
when
back and clarify something you misspoke about 'cause you didn't have
parishioners,
the
people
evidence?
in his church
Well,
are going to
that's
start
weird.
noticing shit. And
Listen to what he's clarifying here.
Everyone's saying, you know things, you need to talk. First of all, I'm not an employee of Turning Point. I'm not involved in their staff meetings. I have no idea what's happening with the investigation. I did hear secondhand that the university said they had the roofs covered. So this.
Okay, and then he goes into this Brian Harpole thing that he talked about on Sean Ryan's show that we just completely obliterated on this program. If you missed that, go back and watch that. I totally dismantled Brian Harpole's argument that he somehow
Baron Coleman,
somehow believed
he's the
that
guy
local officials
who
had said they had the
made
roof
everybody aware that
Let's
you
go to
could
the, let's go to the record here. Let's
you
go to
could
the
look
facts.
up search
Before I go to the next
locations.
part,
The reason
before
why
I-
the
but
entire
when you get to-
country knows that, you know, so-and-so's name was searched 4 hours before the shooting is because of this man. He's the one who brought it to our attention that you could do that. That you could search for the location searches were made. You know, like you could see that guy who shot the National Guard 2 days ago, he has a very unique name. It's like very Muslim sounding or whatever. Rabnoon Abwala or something. I'm just making shit up. But anyway, his name was searched just a couple of hours before the shooting. It's a very unique name. And it was searched in Israel, in Tel Aviv, Israel. You know, before the shooting happened, this man was being Googled. Literally an hour before the shooting happened. Almost like someone was checking to see if it had been done yet or not. But anyways, this guy is a former radio host. And now he is doing the YouTubes. But his evidence is good. I do enjoy truth. So this guy here particularly, when I listen to him, I do not get that feeling, that disturbed feeling in my spirit that I get when like Ben Shapiro or any of those other people are speaking. If I can't listen, I literally cannot listen to Donald Trump talk because it disturbs my spirit so much. I get like super uncomfortable and I just cannot sit through it. I can't. The same thing happens when I try to watch like Ben Shapiro or that Crowder guy or Tim Pool. I have a built-in lie detector. Skirt.
In here talking about how strong Charlie's neck is. I'm going to play that. And then he throws J.D. Vance, the first indication that J.D. Vance is no longer on the team. So we're going to play all that in a second. But first, I want to get to a little bit of why it is I'm having trouble believing that Mikey McCoy called his wife, called Erica, and called Rob all within 60 to 90 seconds. I'm having trouble with that. I have trouble swallowing that big of a pill. I cannot. But I'm going to give you an idea why I have trouble, because I want you to hear it directly from the horse's mouth.
It's just, I remember taking, the last picture I took of Charlie was at 12:23,
Yes.
right before he was shot. And I took that picture, my phone was already in my hand. I plugged.
So you can see he's telling the truth there. I guess he is. I mean, I'm assuming this hadn't been photoshopped. But that phone call, I mean, that date at the top right there, September 10, that's the day Charlie passed, 12:23 p.m. That's the moment Charlie passed. Or the minute. I'm assuming that's not photoshopped. I wonder why it doesn't say a different time unless Arizona's on the exact same time. I thought they were an hour different, but maybe not. I'm willing to give him the fact that may be an accurate representation of this, but he took this photo within a minute of Charlie Kirk passing away. I would say probably within 20 or 25 seconds since he passed away, I think at around the bottom of the minute. But listen to what he says here about what happened in the immediate aftermath.
My ears, people thought I was on a phone call. I wasn't, but I did in fact call Erica momentarily afterwards. But thank you, Bernadette. That's very.
I did indeed call Erica momentarily afterwards. So I did indeed call Erica momentarily afterwards. That's Mikey McCoy's statement. That's what he's saying happened. What about Blake Neff? What does Blake Neff say happened? Who did Mikey call in the immediate aftermath? Who does Blake Neff claim Mikey McCoy called? I think this is important. This is what happens when Rob McCoy preaches, by the way. He needs to stop.
So I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left. And then we get out, and I run for, can't have been more than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realized there hasn't been another shot, so the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something, not in immediate danger. I pause, I look around me, and I see Mikey.
15 to 20 seconds. He pauses. He looks around strangely with his hand, frankly. He looks around like Bruce Lee would look around. But he looks around 15 or 20 seconds after the shot. He spots Mikey. Mikey's not talking to his wife. He's going to tell us that. Mikey's not talking to his wife. So 15 to 20 seconds has passed. Tell us, Blake, what you recall.
I see Mikey there, and truthfully, I will never forget what I saw, because I've seen Mikey almost every day for the past 2 years. I know his personality very well. He's a very bubbly guy. He's a very happy guy almost all of the time. And I'll never forget what I saw, because it was clear in the moment that he was profoundly freaked out. What I'll always remember is the way his lip was quivering, which I'd never seen before. And
I would be
you
so
very rarely
mad
see
if
him
someone
next.
said that about
He's
me. The way my lip
freaking out.
was
And then I
quivering.
think he literally
I'm a
said to
grown
me,
fucking
I
man.
might be imagining this, but I think what he literally said was, he was looking around, and then he says, I need to call Erica.
Looking around, and I need to call Erica. He saw him 15 to 20 seconds after the gunshot. He saw Mikey 15 to 20 seconds after the gunshot, after stopping and looking around like Bruce Lee. And we saw the video of just how fast Blake Neff can run. We saw that video. He ran at Blake Neff's speed. But he looks around 20 seconds afterwards, quivering lip. I've got to call Erica. And then if I continued to play, I have trouble with Blake Neff. But if I continued to play it, you would hear he calls Erica. Oh, actually, I am going to play it because I think it's unbelievable. I am going to play it. But because he calls Erica to tell her, in all likelihood, her spouse is dead. And apparently they talked for like 20 seconds.
And then he takes his phone and he begins calling Erica. And I don't want to disclose how that call unfolded, but he did that. This, your mind extends all of this, but that is happening within a minute.
Within a minute. All of it happening within a minute.
Of all of this occurring. I remember he calls Erica. Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom.
So he calls Erica and he calls his mom at the same time. So we have a timeline from Blake Neff of when he called his mom. Believe it or not, we have that footage. We have that tweet. Now, I can't find the original tweet, but Candace played it on her show. And I'm going to share how she covered it because she covered it a lot of the same way I am covering it right now. Hey, this gives us a timeline. This gives us a timeline. So let's talk about that timeline.
A week ago, I don't remember. And he decides to drop his call log with his mom.
Did you hear the video?
That he had with his mom. Now remember,
I'm making a produce bag. Did you guys hear the video from the French spy who talked about the plans to kill Candace Owens? Did you guys hear that video, what that spy said? You should go on Twitter and look for it. It's crazy. They were going to kill her on air. They had the layout of her studio at her house in her basement. They were going to literally murder her live on television. Which is why her show has been off for the last few days.
Now, so this is going to say 11:24. It's supposed to be obviously 12:24 Utah time. We can show you that.
And it was going to be an Afghan person who was going to do it, by the way.
Okay.
They had an Afghan.
He is calling his mom
person to
at
blame.
24 after. And remember, Blake is saying Mikey calls Erica before he calls his mom. I'll let her continue for just a moment.
And the call begins at 11:24. So a story that he tells us is he's running for 20, 30 seconds, however long he said there. It's not long. He stops, catches his breath. He sees Mikey. Mikey's got a quivering lip. Mikey looks at him and he says, I've got to call Erica. And he says, Mikey calls Erica, and then I call my mom. And when he terminates the phone with the phone call with his mom, he says, Mikey then called his dad.
So there's your timeline. Within 1 minute, he's calling his mom. He's talking to his mom for 45 seconds, Blake Neff. And then at the time he's terminating the call with Blake Neff terminating the call with his mom, so 45 seconds. So we're like somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 65 to 80 seconds after the gunshot. Mikey's hanging up with Erica, and he's on the phone calling Rob. That's the timeline we're given. What the bombshell from this last Sunday's sermon from Rob McCoy, the bombshell from them is he actually sneaked in a call to Erica, not to Erica, to Elizabeth McCoy first. That's the bombshell. That's the bombshell. He sneaked in a call to Erica before. Not Erica, excuse me. I keep using the wrong name. I'm terrible with names. He sneaked in a call to Elizabeth, his Liza, whatever she goes by. He sneaked in a call to her. I just thought of something. Mikey, Charlie, Erica, Eliza. Has she always gone by Eliza? Has she always gone by Eliza? Or were they trying to replace Mikey and Erica? I mean, Charlie and Erica, Mikey and Eliza. They flow. They both end in the same, they both have the same number of syllables. That's weird.
And he never went by Mikey before.
Weird. Okay. So what did we learn? We learned from Rob McCoy, talking extemporaneously in skinny jeans, that Mikey actually may have made a third call. This is, again, my opinion and my reading of what he said. I think it's fair, but I cannot tell you that this is exactly what they meant by all of this. But I think this is a fair reading of all of it. That Mikey hears the gunshot, turns within, what did we say, 800 and something milliseconds, so like less than a second, 0.8 seconds. He turns and walks behind the tent. 15 to 20 seconds later, Blake Neff catches up with him, and he is not on the phone with Eliza, or Elizabeth McCoy, his wife, Mikey's wife. Mikey is not on the phone with his wife at that point. He's got a quivering lip. I got to call Erica. He picks up the phone and calls Erica. After he calls Erica, he hangs up with Erica within seconds, some reason. If you call me to tell me my wife might have just died and been shot in the neck, and you hang up with me within 45 seconds, you're dead to me. Don't you ever call me a friend again. Does this lend credence to the fact that maybe Mikey was doing more than plugging his ears like this? That maybe he was actually doing this as he walked away? Doesn't that lend a little credence to the fact that maybe he was actually doing this like we all thought? And that the reason he was covering his ear because of all the screaming? So he could hear what's taking place in here? You know, when you're at a concert or something and you're trying to hear somebody, you have to cover that other ear in order to really hear what's going on? Because if he was doing this, he was the only person in the venue that I could find covering his ear. I could find no other person covering their ears in that venue. Every other person had their arms down, running like Blake Neff said he was doing. Every other person was running. No one else was covering their ears. The only person who covering his ears also had a phone in his hand, suspiciously close to one of his ears. Now, if he was talking to Elizabeth or talking to Eliza, it might make sense that that's why he had his phone like that. But if so, when did he dial? Oh, he may have already had an open line.
Please stop dripping. No.
Keep in mind, she was in the department that schedules these events. And he was present. And it had been drilled into him time and time again that the very first thing you do is call Erica.
My nose ring is going to get caught.
But now Rob McCoy suggests maybe he called his wife first and then Erica. I played that clip earlier. Again, I'm taking at face value that Rob McCoy knows what he's talking about. And I'm just expanding on a logical, rational opinion that could be formed from everything we've seen today. That's all I'm doing. Don't threaten me with defamation claims. Because I am just giving you my opinion based on everything you guys are saying. No other version of that story makes sense to me. No other version of that story makes sense to me. Now, let's get to Rob McCoy talking about how strong Charlie's neck is. You will not believe what you're about to see. You will not believe what you're about to see. I promise. And this isn't even the best part of the whole sermon. The best part is the clip I'm about to play after that. That's the best part of the whole sermon. Check this out. Check this out. Let me play that up as loud as I could. Someone said it was quiet.
And what an exciting time to be alive. The Republic is on the brink of a millimeter miracle.
The millimeter miracle he's talking about was Trump. So he's talking about, I'm going to give you some context here. He's talking about the two assassination attempts, one with Donald J. Trump, one with Charlie Kirk.
Missed that shot. They got Charlie. God knew one man couldn't be a martyr.
I just caught that. I didn't catch that the first time. He just said God knew one man couldn't be a martyr. In other words, Charlie was up for martyrship because of his faith. I think he just called Donald Trump a non-believer. Let me play that again. I didn't catch that the first 40 times I listened to it. God knew one man couldn't be a martyr. I think he's making fun of Donald Trump's faith.
Well, a millimeter miracle. Just missed that shot. I got Charlie. God knew one man couldn't be a martyr. We killed Abu. What's his name? Baghdadi. He died like a dog. I mean, that's moving. I just want to give my heart to the Lord whenever he speaks.
What?
Sounds like he's going after Trump a little bit there, too. He's salty. Keep in mind, he'd just gotten back from Jerusalem 48 hours before this. Maybe 72, but I think it was 48 hours before this sermon.
Dude, yeah, long time no see. I hope that you're doing super well.
And if I'm talking about Charlie Kirk's assassination, and I know I like to cut up and have a good time on here, but if I'm in the pulpit talking about the martyrdom of a fellow saint and Christian, maybe I'm not making fun of Donald
I haven't been on
Trump's
YouTube very much lately.
religious faith at the same time. I don't know. Maybe.
No, that bullet missed him. But the other bullet hit my friend, killed him. Charlie died with a smile on his face. Oh, couldn't have been a 30-06. It would have taken. Have you seen his neck?
He paused for emphasis there. Don't let the pause ruin the statement. Oh, it couldn't have been a 30-06. It would have taken his neck off. Have you seen his neck? Yeah, I've seen lots of people's necks. I've seen the necks of elk and moose and elephants. Their necks don't stop 30-06s either, Pastor Rob. Did he say they by chance? Did someone in the comments said he said they?
No, that bullet missed him. But the other bullet hit my friend, killed him. Charlie died with a smile on his face.
No, he didn't. He died like this.
Couldn't have been a 30-06. It would have taken. Have you seen his neck?
That's the face he was making, actually.
That's a bizarre take. I mean, to me, this is absolutely Rob McCoy and his ilk in total retreat. They're going down. They're going back to Superman neck. That's where we are. We've come full circle to Superman neck. That's where we are. Now, I want to get to this, the crux, in my opinion, of what he says in this entire sermon. This is the cause for my entire opening. You guys will never believe who is on the team. He's on the team. I hear time and time again the same Ian, Tucker, Candace. Guess who's on the team, according to Rob McCoy? I don't know if we got to get him a jersey. What would JD's jersey say? We're going to have to get him a jersey because, according to Rob McCoy, JD Vance is out when it comes to TPUSA faith, the pro-Israeli cause, and the support of this crew for the next president of the United States.
Look, I get it. Diversity, equity, and inclusion in critical race theory has caused white young males to be the bottom of the totem pole. And that's why they gravitate towards the Nick Fuenteses of the world, and the Candace Owens, and the Tucker Carlsons, and God forbid, JD Vance.
Did you hear that? And God forbid JD Vance, and then he pauses with that look on his face as if to say, did you catch it? We're done with JD Vance? I, for one, did not see this coming. I didn't see this coming, and I'll give you my explanation of why I think it's coming in a second.
Not see that coming.
But let me play it again.
How do you do that? Look, I get it. Diversity, equity, and inclusion in critical race theory has caused white young males to be the bottom of the totem pole. And that's why they gravitate towards the Nick Fuenteses of the world, and the Candace Owens, and the Tucker Carlsons, and God forbid, JD Vance.
Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, J.D. Vance. Now, we saw what happened to Charlie Kirk when he was flirting with that crew. We saw what happened with Charlie Kirk when he was flirting with that crew. Turned out they proved he had a super neck. Here's why I think it's happening. I think there's a split. I think there's a split that has arisen on the right in the MAGA faction. And it's not J.D. Vance, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, who else did he name? Nick Fuentes. I'll add some people in there. Ian Carroll, Ryan Maddow, Blake Bednar. It's not all those people. That's not the split. That's not the split. Coach Colin, that's not the split. The split is the tech bros and the Israeli bros, the PayPal mafia and the Rob McCoy mafia. That's the split.
Don't forget the company
That's
that does.
the split.
Let me comment this. Baron, are you aware that the company that verifies identification for all of Twitter is run by, oops, hold on, is AU10TIX? An Israeli-based what are you saying, Israeli? An Israel-based company.
And what they're going to try to do is paint this wing over here with the broad brush of you can't trust anything they say. That's all anti-Israeli nonsense. That's anti-Semitism, is what that is. But he has signaled his intention to oppose J.D. Vance in 2028. Now, why is that important? Well, let's show you why that is so important. Because this was the headline in Newsweek talking about Erica Kirk and her appearance on the Megyn Kelly show.
There's a post going around on Twitter saying that Erica Kirk and J.D. Vance should run together. Hi, Chris! Like, Erica Kirk, vice president, J.D. Vance for president. And it's just like, why would that even be a thing? She's the wife of somebody. She's not a politician. Like, that's so retarded.
Presidential.
Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know why. I did not mean to hammer you guys.
Hi,
Chris.
Chris.
I did not mean to hammer you.
I hope you're
That
doing
was an
well.
unintentional hammering. I did not intend to do that. You know I wouldn't do that to you. I love you guys. I would never intentionally hammer you. But we all got hammered. Oh, gosh, we're still getting hammered. How do I get rid of him? Ah! Every time I see him, I'm like, one, two.
He does look like the Count.
Got hammered. I'm sorry, guys. Won't happen again. Asked about the possibility of Turning Point USA supporting J.D. Vance in the presidential bid. In an interview on the Megyn Kelly show released on Monday, Charlie Kirk's widow said, quote, "It's in the works. This was a thing my husband was very direct about. One of the last few conversations we had was how intentional he was for supporting J.D. in 2028. So yes, it matters. And it puts Erica now in the firing line. And I mean that about as literally as I can. I mentioned this article earlier, so I want to show you just how it painted. Check this out. This is the Jerusalem Post. They have a section called the diaspora, so that's for the Jewish people around the world. And then and within that is a section called anti-Semitism, and that is where they covered J.D. Vance. That's where they covered J.D. Vance, under the anti-Semitism section. And then right after this article, a week or two after this article,
J.D. Vance is going to be the one who pretends to not like Israel, who pretends to not support Israel, so that just like with Trump and the Democrats and us and Trump's assassination attempt, it made Trump look like, oh, the deep state really wants him dead. Like, obviously we should vote for him because, like, if they want him dead, he's probably good for us. I think the same thing is happening with J.D. Vance, whereas he kind of, sort of acts a little bit aloof towards Israel, and then the other side goes, oh, J.D. Vance is an anti-Semite. Look at him. He's not supporting Israel. And then people who are controlled opposition on our side is like, oh, you know what? We should... J.D. Vance is anti-Israel. Let's jump on this bandwagon. But in reality, it's not. That's not the case at all. He's just pretending so that we go, oh my God, somebody, anybody, when we should just be voting for Massey. So.
In Israel, and then he comes back, and a couple days later, he gives the sermon you just heard, where he announced, we're done with J.D. Vance. He is essentially Candace Owens to us. He is essentially Nick Fuentes to us. He's essentially Tucker Carlson to us. At Ole Miss, Vance responded to both Israel questions in an America First framing and suggested that his own support for Israel was not unequivocal. Well, why would your support for any foreign nation be unequivocal? I've never understood that. My support for France is not unequivocal. My support for Germany is not unequivocal. My support for Canada is not unequivocal. My support for Mexico is not unequivocal. My support for Turkey is not unequivocal. My support for South Africa is not unequivocal. My support for Egypt is not unequivocal. My support for no country is unequivocal. The only thing unequivocal is I support American interests. That's unequivocal. I don't equivocate on that. So this is a blisteringly shocking revelation out of Rob McCoy on multiple fronts. Number one, his suggestion is Mikey McCoy made actually 2 phone calls before he called Rob McCoy about a minute after the shooting. All 3 phone calls must have lasted a matter of seconds, which is weird to me. You call your spouse to say, honey, my boss was shot in the neck in front of me moments ago. Okay, bye. Let me call the decedent's spouse. Honey, or excuse me, Erica, your husband was just shot in the neck. Oh, yeah, it was bad. Blood everywhere. Oh, okay, bye. That's weird. Let me call my dad. Dad, you know Charlie, your congregant, the one that calls you America's pastor? Yeah, he was just shot in the neck. You should pray. Oh, okay, bye. I mean, that's about how long it took. That's about how long it took. Which is just shocking and impossible for me to believe. So that's number one. That's number one that came out today. 2 phone calls. Number 2 that came out today. Mikey McCoy was in Salt Lake City in a hotel after the shooting. Not long after the shooting. And Rob McCoy somehow knew he had changed clothes. And obviously didn't ask him about the change of clothes, because then he would have learned that the change of clothes had nothing whatsoever to do with blood all over them. No, Rob McCoy assumed the change of clothes was because of blood, which means they didn't talk about the change of clothes, which means Mikey McCoy, his wardrobe selection was known to Rob before he saw him in the hotel. Number 3, revelation from Rob McCoy's Sunday sermon in Ohio. J.D. Vance, according to the pro-Israeli crowd, at least the Rob McCoy faction, J.D. Vance is no different from Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Nick Fuentes. That's what they think of J.D. Vance. That's what they think of J.D. Vance.
No, that's
God
what they want
forbid
us to think
J.D.
they think
Vance.
about
That
J.D.
was
Vance.
the statement from America's pastor, Rob McCoy. So that's what we've learned. That's what we've learned. Now, I want to get to another story here. I'm going to pause. I'm going to change stories because I've got to get to, and I got to say, it's going to take a little setup for me here. I became aware of somebody who was a professional in the realm of comings and goings of aircrafts. That's all I'm going to say. And so I say, hey, here's a list of all the flights who came in and out of Orem, Utah, or Provo, Utah on this day. Do you notice anything suspicious about any of these planes? Have fun, do your best, let me know when you hear something. I get an email back. Now, I'm not going to read the whole email, but I'm going to tell you a few things. First, let me show you the plane. It is this plane right here. It's N315NG, November 315, November Golf. This is the plane. Now, let me preface this whole thing by saying it's very possible none of this is suspicious, that all of this is perfectly normal behavior for an airplane. And I think I have to position it that way because people are just litigious. And not that I don't believe it. I believe that this could be suspicious. But here's some flight history of this plane over the last, say, 90 days or so, give or take. Yeah, going back to late August, it's late November. So, yeah, 90 days or so of flight history from this plane. This was a couple of days ago. And I said, just look over everything. So the person was looking at all the planes that landed in Provo, Utah on that day. And here's the email I got back. Let me read a portion of this email because I think it's important. If I can find it. Here it is. Actually, let me put the flights up so you can see them while I read. Oh, here we go. So flights going on the big screen. On the little screen is going to go the text. So these are the flights. Again, there may be nothing suspicious at all about these. I'm just telling you how a professional saw this day. Looks back 90 days at this flight because something jumped out on this particular day. All the flights that came and went on that day, this plane jumped out. So this person then goes and grabs 90 days worth of history of this flight to determine, was that day an anomaly or is this just a weird plane doing weird things? And here's what I got. There are 2 days that clearly break the normal medevac pattern, meaning this is a medevac plane. These allegedly, mostly, are medevac flights. There are 2 days that clearly break the normal medevac pattern, November 15th and September 10th, 2025. Here's why they are obvious outliers. Almost every other day in the entire log follows the standard medevac cycle. The aircraft is obviously based at Cortez Muni. And you can see, maybe I can blow it up a little bit here for you. You can see how many Cortez Munis there are. See all these? Every night, this plane goes back to Cortez Muni, and that's where it starts. So you see all these Cortez Munis. So that's the context here. This plane is obviously based at Cortez Muni. It flies out in the morning or early afternoon to pick up a patient at a small strip. And then it lists the number of strips that are used. Window Rock, Arizona, Chinle, Arizona, Kayenta, Page, Blanding, Tuba City, Shiprock, etc. It then flies to a larger Phoenix area or regional airport. And it lists a number of airports, PHX, IWA, DVT, GYR, SDL, or occasionally Denver, COS, or Albuquerque. Later in the same day, it repositions empty back to Cortez to be ready for the next mission. So that's the context that this person said they noticed on this plane. They, again, context is key here, looked at all the flights coming and going on September 10th from Provo, Utah. That was my ask. Just look at all these flights. Just look at all these flights and see if you can find anything weird on that day that I'm not catching. Cortez is a little town in Colorado. Someone asked what Cortez was. It's a little town in southwest Colorado, and it's kind of centrally located near the Four Corners region because this looks like a medevac plane that is centered around the Four Corners regions. And there's a lot of Native American reservations there. This creates a very repetitive out and back pattern with Cortez as the clear home base. However, two dates are completely different. First, November 15th, 2025 is completely different. So let's go to November 15th, 2025. Notice the difference involves a flight to Scottsdale, right there. The first flight is in the middle of the night from Santa Fe to Cortez. Then Cortez to Scottsdale, Scottsdale back to Cortez. The airplane starts the day in Santa Fe, not Cortez. It does a single round trip, Cortez, Scottsdale, and ends the day back in Cortez. In other words, it appears there's no patient pickup at a remote strip and no transport to a major hospital hub. It looks instead like a private charter or a repositioning trip rather than a medevac mission. No other day in the entire multi-month log shows this pattern. Okay, so that's November 15th. I don't know anything about November 15th. Here's the second anomaly. And this is September 10th. This is the day Charlie Kirk passed away. So let's go down to September 10th and let you look at this with me because I think this is pretty important. This is the September 10th area right here. Look how many flights there are on September 10th. It starts actually the evening before, but we'll get there. Second, the block of September 9th and 10th, 2025 also stands out as extremely unusual. In fact, it's the only other multi-flight sequence in the entire log that completely abandons the normal medevac pattern built around Cortez. Here's exactly what happens from the evening of September 9th through the end of September 10th. And this person goes and says, listen, the flight starts at Phoenix and goes from Phoenix to Cortez. That could be they pick someone up at Window Rock. They fly them to Phoenix because that's a major hospital hub for some. Window Rock is the basically like the state capital of the Navajo Nation. That's where the government is. So they go to Window Rock. They pick up a patient. They take them to Phoenix Sky Harbor because there's a major hospital there. That's what a medevac does. They get you to major trauma centers. Phoenix Sky Harbor back to Cortez Muni. And then you get a Cortez Muni to Blanding. But instead of going from Blanding on the evening of September 9th, Blanding is one of the remote airstrips where they were picking up patients over the course of this. Instead of going from Blanding to a major hospital hub like Denver or Phoenix, instead they go to Provo that night. This is the only time I could find this plane has gone to Provo. And we'll talk about that in a second. So it goes from Phoenix Sky Harbor, which looks like a patient drop-off, back to its home hub the evening of the September 9th, the day before the shooting. In the evening, it gets there at 8 o'clock. And then an hour and a half later, it leaves for a remote airstrip in Blanding, Utah. It goes from the Blanding, Utah to Provo. And then Provo back to Cortez. And it doesn't get back to Cortez till 2 in the morning. Again, Provo, Utah is not the site of a major trauma center. All the major trauma centers are Denver or Phoenix or some of these places. This is where it looks like they take major patients. But this one went to Provo. The next morning, and it spends the night in Provo, and then actually in the middle of the night, it flies back to Cortez, and that's where it goes. And the next morning, at 8 a.m., it goes from Cortez to Window Rock. That's where it says it's going to be. And then it disappears from radar, meaning it's turned off its transponder or something has gone wrong with the timeline, and somehow ends up in Chenley. Now, I've been to Chenley, and I'm familiar with a lot of these names, Window Rock, Chenley, Prescott, because I spent time on the Navajo reservation out there, and these names mean something to me. I've been to the Walmart in Chenley, or whatever it was over there. So it goes Cortez. It's supposed to be heading to Window Rock. All of a sudden, it disappears from radar, and instead of going to Window Rock, it ends up in Chenley. You'll notice, if you click down here, there aren't a lot of Chenleys. Occasionally, but not a lot. But that's where it ends up here on September 10th. It ends up in Chenley that morning when it was supposed to be going to Window Rock, and then it leaves Chinley and it goes to Prescott, Arizona. From Prescott, Arizona, again, Prescott is not a major trauma center. It looks like it's just shuttling people at this point. From Prescott, it goes back to its home base in Cortez. And this is on the day Charlie Kirk is shot at 1 o'clock. This is 30 minutes after. It leaves Prescott before Charlie Kirk is assassinated, and it lands after Charlie Kirk is assassinated. It's in the air while that happens. But then it's not done. It leaves Cortez again, goes back to Blanding. It goes from Blanding back to Provo, from Provo back to Cortez, its home base, from Cortez back to Provo, and from Provo back to Cortez. And all of this takes place over the course of hours. It's basically a long 30-hour run of flying around, not taking people to major trauma centers. So here's how this person describes it. So, on September 9th and 10th, the airplane suddenly spends 30 hours flying an intense shuttle almost exclusively between Cortez, Blanding, and Provo, Utah, much farther north than its usual operating area. This is extremely abnormal. The normal medevac world for this jet is the Four Corners region, plus the Phoenix area hospitals, occasionally Denver or Albuquerque. Provo, Utah is 350 nautical miles north, way outside the usual radius. It makes 4 trips to Provo in roughly 24 hours, something that has never happened in the history of this plane that I can find. Blanding is being used as an intermediate stop on almost every leg, also unique to this period, also never found on any other flight. So actually you have 2 clear outliers on the entire log of this airplane. September 15th, the private-looking Cortez to Scottsdale round trip.
November 15th.
The one most people spot first. That was a parenthetical added by this person. And second, the September 9th and 10th Provo shuttle, an intense, sustained operation to a completely different region that no other day even comes close to matching.
It's a lot of firsts on September
if this is
10th.
suspicious or not. I'm taking the word of a
lot
professional
of firsts.
who has looked through months of flight logs, who says, I'm somewhat familiar with this game, meaning I'm an expert, and I'm telling you right now, those 2 days don't add up. Now, do we know anyone who lives in Blanding? Do we know anyone who lives in Blanding? Do we know anybody who's been mentioned at all who lives near Blanding? Well, let's look at where Blanding is. Let's go to Google Earth and look at where Blanding is, because I think this is important to this story. Do we know anyone on Earth who's been in Blanding, Utah, or near about Blanding, Utah? Let me pull up the screen here and show you Blanding, Utah, because I think you're going to be interested in this. This is Blanding. You'll notice Blanding is in the middle of the desert. I'm going to give you some context here. That's that big dot up here. This is Salt Lake up here. That's the Great Salt Lake. Those are the Salt Lake Flats and all that. This is Salt Lake City. See all these people? This is like the only major metropolitan area in Utah. This is Provo down here. This is Provo and Utah County down there. And then you got to go all the way down here for Blanding. See, it's down here in the Four Corners region. Down here in the Four Corner region. Where did I put it? Here it is. You're gonna love this, ladies and gentlemen. You're gonna love what I'm about to show you.
My God.
Philip K. Lyman is an American politician from Utah.
Thought what was a corn dog? Oh, this? Look at this.
He previously represented the 69th
It's so
district
pretty.
in the Utah House of Representatives as a Republican. You have an airplane that an actual professional identified as extremely suspicious on the day of the shooting. You have an airplane that day that was extremely suspicious that day. And this person identifies
I love it.
the airplane just based on the landing pattern, and then looks up 90 days plus of history, 6 months of history, whatever it was, and says there are 2 weird days, actually. One day it goes to Scottsdale and back. That's weird because that's where the Kirk family lived. But the other day that's suspicious is September 9th and 10th. And here is why it's suspicious. This appears to be a medevac plane. And this person is smart enough in the ways of air traffic control that this person was able to recognize an immediate break of the flight patterns.
Look at how much it stretches out, dude.
Provo, Utah, on the day
It looks
Charlie Kirk
tiny,
was
but
assassinated.
it's not. Dude, that's exciting. I was a little bit worried it was too
And
small.
says, okay, here's the weird
But
anomaly
it's
on the
like
15th.
basically
That's
the same
thing most
size
people
as
are
this
gonna
one once it
identify.
has
But let
stuff in
me show
it.
you real quickly what
This
happened
one is
on
a bigger
September 9th
just
and
because it
10th,
has a
this is
thicker
even weirder.
diameter yarn. They're exactly
Yeah,
the same
on
amount
9th
of
and 10th,
stitches.
this medevac plane stopped serving as a medevac plane and
My
went on like
goodness.
a 30-hour human shuttle mission. And this 30-hour human shuttle mission kept stopping for whatever reason in Blanding. And I thought,
I love it so
Blanding?
much.
What's in Blanding?
So I think I might
So
do.
I looked up what's in Blanding. And I couldn't find anything. But I was hell-bent on finding why. I was hell-bent on finding why this plane would be diverting to Blanding. So I did what I do. I start looking. Charlie Kirk, Blanding, Charlie. And I'm searching every way I know how. And what I find is there's an interesting figure from Blanding who was at the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Oh,
Who
really?
initially drew great suspicion, whose family owns the area, or a lot of the homes in the area on the northeast side.
No!
The shooter was supposed to have
The
run
senator guy,
immediately
or
after the
whatever.
shooting. That was the Phil Lyman family up there.
Phil Lyman.
You remember that? And you remember Phil Lyman's car was actually in the footage, the initial footage that spotted the alleged shooter walking through the neighborhood. There was an actual shot of this guy allegedly walking down the street, and in the background was Phil Lyman's car. And he said he had just arrived at the location when this happened. I'm thinking, man, there's a lot going on here. Wait, I can assure you. But this area up here to the northeast of it, this is where your shooter allegedly took the shot and then ran off the roof this way. And I kept looking, saying, that just seems like misdirection to me. There's got to be something else going on somewhere else, because the shooter wouldn't do that, run into this neighborhood and park in that. That just doesn't make any sense to me, especially when there's so many doorbell cameras and all that. And then when they could really just get lost all over the rest of campus. Oh, I'm not sharing anymore. Sorry, guys. Let me share Google Earth with you. I don't know why I stopped sharing. Or maybe I never started sharing. So this is where Charlie Kirk allegedly was, or not allegedly, he was neutralized in this arena right here. This thing. The shot allegedly came from this perch right here in this area, kind of in the middle of the screen here. And then the alleged shooter runs off the top right of this building, the northeast corner of this building, and then heads into this neighborhood, drops a gun in this little patch of trees here, and then heads into the netherworld up here to pick up a car somewhere in this neighborhood. It just happens to run by a number of Ring doorbell cameras and all that kind of stuff on the way. So we get this footage. It ends up on TMZ. But the weird thing is, Candace Owens discovers Phil Lyman was actually in that video, or his car was in that video. And then discovers Phil Lyman's family actually has a great history with this neighborhood, owns a lot of the houses. And I kept looking at it thinking, why would the shooter run you right where the gun was? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense to me. He has to know he's on camera. Took all that care and caution to avoid the cameras with his hat down and changing clothes and all that. And so when I found the Phil Lyman connection, I thought, Blanding. Now I go back and I look at the flight pattern again, and I'll pull that back up for you. Now let's go back and look at that flight pattern one more time. Am I suggesting Phil Lyman was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk? Absolutely not. That is not what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. Am I suggesting there were anomalous flights on what is proposed to be a medevac plane that went through Phil Lyman's hometown multiple times on the day Charlie Kirk was assassinated? Yes, that's precisely what I'm saying. That is precisely what I'm saying. There was a medevac flight that was doing medevac things over about 90 days, and one of those days, or two of those days, broke a pattern. And one of the 2 days the pattern broke involved a flight to Scottsdale, where Charlie Kirk was from, and the other, or Mikey McCoy and others were from, and the other day it broke a pattern, it flew through Blanding multiple times for no apparent reason.
Suki, leave it alone,
And this is
Mama.
it again. I will see if I can make it a little larger for those of you with ancient eyes. But here it is, Cortez. It goes Phoenix, Sky Harbor to Cortez. And then it goes Cortez to Blanding. This is Phil Lyman's hometown. On the evening before the shooting, and then Blanding to Provo, and lands just before midnight. And then Provo back to Cortez, Cortez back to Arizona. But it doesn't land where it said it was going to land in Arizona. This is the morning before the shooting. Instead, it goes to Chinley. It goes from Chinley to Prescott. Now, this could very well just be a pickup of some sort, but, you know, I will tell you, Window Rock and Chinley are extremely impoverished places on an Indian reservation. And then it goes to Prescott, from Prescott back to Cortez. Again, now here's your Cortez to Blanding, Blanding to Provo. Provo back to Cortez. Cortez to Provo, Provo to Cortez. Cortez to Cayenta.
Cannot believe
this is in Arizona. Cayenta
it came
to
out
Deer Valley.
big.
That's Phoenix.
I was really
This
worried it was
looks
going to be
like
super
a
tiny.
regular
So that's why I
pickup.
added this morning. I
This looks like a
undid.
regular
I had
pickup.
already started to do some of
These look
the
like human shuttles.
border
Now it's possible Phil Lyman, this is
to
how we got there.
cinch
He may
it
know
last
the owner of
night,
this
but I
plant.
undid
This may
what
be
I had
innocent.
done last night because
This
I
may be
felt
an
like it
innocent
needed
thing,
just a couple
but
of
I'm
more
telling you right
rows.
now,
And I added
I've never
like
had somebody that owns a medevac shuttle offer to shuttle me around the state
4
when
rows.
when a dignitary is giving a speech. That would be a first.
I'm
That would be a
really
first for me.
proud of these.
Has not happened to your humble host.
I'm gonna
But I'm not suggesting it's never happened.
I don't know. I was thinking
So
about
we've
switching
broken
over to
a lot of
Tiki
news
Talkie.
here today. There are a lot of leads for you guys to run down. That's what this show does. I don't make conclusions. I give you leads. You guys take the leads. You flesh them out. You get crowdsourced. You start running down stuff. You figure out what's going on. By the end of tomorrow, I know somebody's going to know everything about that medevac plane going back 2 years. I know that. And we'll be able to determine as a group, as a crowd, is this unusual? I know you guys are going to know, for example, somebody's going to need to accumulate every statement Mikey McCoy made and Blake Neff made and Rob McCoy made and Erica McCoy made about when the phone calls took place in the immediate aftermath of the shooting, because we have to start lining those up. And I know somebody's going to have to go into Rob McCoy's history and the pro-Israeli crowd's history and look at all the statements they've made about J.D. Vance. Is this new? Is this new? And I don't want you guys to lose sight of the fact of the headline of this. I do believe Erica Kirk is in more danger than we realized. And I know some of you guys don't like her, but I'm here to tell the truth as I see it. And I think she's in grave danger due to her support, if for no other reason, due to her support of J.D. Vance. I also want to know if Mikey McCoy went by Mikey or Michael.
So
I need more than one source on that. I need 3. Because
I'm
if
gonna
it's
test
3,
this
I'm
one
going to
out with a
report this.
larger.
I have one person that knew them. I need 3. Before I get to your comments, I need you guys to subscribe to the program. If you like this type of information being brought to you on a Friday night, subscribe to this channel. I need you to like the video so that it gets pushed out to more people, and then click the notification so you know when I come live.
16, 17, 18,
I need you also to share it with your friends. Share it on social media. I don't care if you clip it out and share it. That doesn't bother me. Some people don't like that. I don't care. It's free media, free advertising. Have fun. Don't just post the whole thing under your name somewhere. That's going to bother me. But if you take 5 minutes and say, check this out. Look what he said about Blanding, Utah. That's fine with me. Finally, I want to give an overall disclaimer. I have broken a lot of news today, but I've not drawn any conclusions as to what the news means, particularly with respect to the Blanding, Utah flight. All I can say is there's a suspicious flight that a professional air traffic control person spotted immediately as suspicious that day and said, hey, here's here's a medevac flight. This is clearly a medevac flight. I recognize that. And it's not acting as a medevac that day. It's acting as a human shuttle. And we don't know why. And it's going between Blanding and Provo when we don't know what's in Blanding. But something there was in Blanding, and they kept shuttling people back and forth. Took multiple trips. And then I started digging. And the only thing I could come up with is, isn't it convenient that Phil Lyman lives in Blanding? Does that mean he was on the plane? No. Does not mean he was on the plane. I am curious now how he got to Provo. Or to Orem. I'm very curious how he got to Orem. Finally, if you have any tips that you want to help me out on, tips that could produce shows like this, or lead to shows like this, realbaronpodcast@gmail.com, realbaronpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to follow along at home in other ways, you can catch me on there, that little scroller down there. x.com/realbaronpod, so forth and so on. So don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Let me get to some of your comments here. I'm so thankful you're going live today. Besides the news in your title, that video on IG about Candace is chilling. God bless and keep you all safe. What video? I don't know what video. That video on IG about Candace. I'll have to check it out. Thank you for your donation. Oh, wow, very generous donation. 77 e-bucks. I finally get to watch Le Baron live. Hubs and I are huge fans. Your last monologue was amazing, by the way. Us Belgians don't know much about U.S. history. Keep up the great work. Never change. Continue wiggling and be hilarious. I cannot stop wiggling, man. I'm assuming, man. You said husband and you're in Belgium. It very well could be sir. But I'm going to assume, man. I'm going to assume, man. Thank you for the generous donation. 3343. Who are these Hydra people who think they are elite human beings directing all this BS? Who are these Hydra people? I don't know. Talking about the lizards? I got to get with the terminology of the young folks. Gag order. Why did Harpole do 6+ hours of jargon-filled interviews if a client died? That's a good question. That's a great question. I don't know why he's painting himself as a hero. He failed. Ran transcripts through at AI, 90% reputation rehab, 10% CK is 100% dead. I saw it. His rep can't be saved, so which message is the real goal here? The first,
honestly, I think that's going to even look
reputational
fine.
I think silence is not his friend here. Madam Bailey, I'm obsessed with your brain. Brilliant man. Thank you for sharing with us.
So this one's going to be a lot
away
bigger.
in here. So I will not do what
But it
Albert
looks
Einstein
just
did
as
and donate
good.
my brain upon my demise. Hopefully my demise is years from now when my brain is rotted on its own and not not when it's at peak condition here at the age of 45. Has anyone else noticed a lot of YouTube channels, including yours, Baron, are in another language? Like ones I've previously seen in English. Has anyone else experienced this?
Yeah,
Can
they
I talk
translate
in
it
another
for
language?
you. It's a new
That's
feature on
weird,
YouTube.
because I had a, well, I'm not going to tell you what I had. You guys make fun of people that have dreams. But I had a dream about another language the other night, and I didn't know what to make of it. I still don't know what to make of it. I get weirded out by my dreams. It happens a lot. I wake up from dreams, and I'm like, I'm afraid to face the day. Super sticker, Damian Ferguson, thank you so much. That's a very, very, very generous donation. Thank you for that. My husband of 32 years and I have 8 children together also. I love close relationships and a big family, and thank you for speaking of them in such a positive light. Children are a blessing. That is correct. You'll never find anywhere in the Bible where children are referred to as a curse or as a burden. So anyone who tells you children are a burden, that's unbiblical. That's demonic. The Lord speaks of children as nothing but a blessing. There is no such thing as a burdensome child. That's a demonic thought and concept. And if you think that, go to confession. Canuck Buck, $7. Can't wait to catch the show later tonight. Grandma's baby dinner, a birthday dinner. God bless you and all your fans. See you Sunday. Thanks, Drew. I'll be here Sunday. Do you know if the video of the whistleblower talking about the hit on CO is real? I don't know. I don't know if that's real or not. Is that the video they're talking about on Instagram relative to Kansas? If so, yeah, that is wild. I don't know if it's real. $10. I feel a disconnect between how much goodness I have in my own life and just how much evil there is in this world. Thank you for opening our eyes, Baron. You're my favorite podcaster. You might be my favorite commenter after that. Yeah, there's a real disconnect, and you have what I think is properly referred to as survivor's guilt. When you have joy in your life, when you have genuine joy, like the Lord has, rejoice in the Lord always, and I say again, rejoice. When you have genuine joy in your life, sometimes you feel guilty because you look around, there are people that don't. They have anxiety. Anxiety is a sin, by the way. They have anxiety. They have worry. Worry is a sin, by the way. Stop worrying. Stop having anxiety. You have a vapor of life here, and then it's over. Do you think Charlie Kirk at age 31 wishes he could go back and stop worrying and stop having any anxiety and just live in the moment around his family? How much time did he lose with his kids because he was anxious? How much time did he lose with his kids because he was worried, or his wife? Don't do that. Worry and anxiety is sin. Confess it and ask the Lord for help to get over it. Can you please read 582 of the Quran? No, ma'am, I cannot. Oh. No, sir, I cannot. If you're going to do it, I can. I don't have a copy. I think I have a copy. I got a lot of religious texts over there. No, I don't think I have a copy in this room. No, I don't. I got the Bhagavad Gita in there. You will surely find the most bitter towards the believers to be the Jews, and the most gracious to be those who call themselves Christians. That is because they are not arrogant. Well, thank you. I hope that's in the Quran. I'm not an expert, but thank you for that. And thank you for your generous donation. We had some friends, we had some neighbors that were Muslims years ago, and I traveled to California for a military trial on 29 Palms, military base, Marine base, whatever it's called, the camp 29 Palms. I had a trial out there, and on my way back, we stopped at a little date stand, and I bought a big old thing of like fresh, just picked dates or whatever, just whatever they were. They're good. And I brought them back, and I thought, man, I've got too many dates. Let's give some of these to the neighbors. So my wife gave some to the neighbors, and they were in awe that we would give them dates, because for them, dates were very holy food, because it's what the Virgin Mary ate after giving birth to Jesus, that she used the dates for sustenance and to reintroduce vigor. And so that's the way it was explained to me. Again, I'm not a Quranical expert. Nobi Desco, Mexican bucks, imagine how many millions of young Christian Americans would have followed Charlie in abandoning the Israel cause. Don't forget CK opposed war in Iran. Agreed. That's correct. That's precisely part of the problem. Jessica Bishke, doing Christmas decorations with the family right now. Happy holidays. Rocking around the Christmas tree, though you are. Some people listen to Christmas. This family listens to how is the government trying to kill you today? Not the government, man. Well, maybe. Merry Christmas to everyone. Stay safe out there. I hope that this show has provided you the inspiration you need to properly spin the garland around the old fir tree. Good call on JD Vance, brother. You want to like him, want to believe in him, but he makes your spidey sense tingle. Plus, my Latina wife doesn't like how Erica hugged him. She told me to tell you. A lot of people's wives did not like how Erica hugged him. But to hear Erica tell it, she's just a huggy person. And if there's weirdness there, I'm not going to try to speculate. Well, it'll come out. If there's weirdness there, it'll come out. Mr. P.G. Whitaker II, $5, went to Charlie went to his church once in 4 years, is what he said himself. I am so over this Israel propaganda. I'm sick of this crap in the worst way.
That's right. Get out that fucking window, motherfucker.
It's a lot of it. A whole lot of it. TPUSA pastor's been saying Candace is diabolical, evil, and asking for an applause after saying that. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that video. Can you imagine a purported preacher taking a stage in front of a lot of people, calling someone who professes Christ evil, and then demanding an applause? Come on. That's wild. That is wild. On stage. L Bucks. Hi, Baron. Polish woman in the UK here. I love how your lawyer mind explains things. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've started copying your style, minus the wiggling and cadence. Well, if you don't wiggle, you don't have my style. It's helping me professionally and in real life. I used to tell people on the radio show that I was not here to tell them what to think. I was there to give them glasses so that they learned how to see the news. If I can help you construct a pair of glasses that you can put on so that you know how to read the news, you know how to interpret tweets, you know how to look at a news story and say, oh, I know what's going on there. I see what they're saying. Then I've done my job. I don't want you to have to rely on me.
That
But you
is such a
can.
good
You
way of
can.
phrasing
You
it.
can
I
be
am
here. I'll be here.
stealing
I'll
that.
be here again Sunday. How could he see that he had blood everywhere to tell his dad when he called? He walked away immediately. If he called his dad after he walked away, that makes no sense. Maybe Blake left pretty quick too. I don't know. I don't trust any of them. I just don't trust any of them. It doesn't take that long to say it's done. Yeah, you and me both. How could Mikey know about the neck wound or blood? He was looking downward, then bolted away. Yeah. I mean, that's a common refrain that people have on this whole thing. The video footage doesn't show Mikey. I can't even type that name. It's so gay. He's a happy man. He loves the Flintstones. Dialing a phone number. He immediately puts the phone to his ear after the shot. That person was already on the line. Yeah, I think so. These people were expecting the "it's done" call. Yeah, I mean, you would think Charlie Kirk is. This is kind of the counterfactual argument of that. You would think Charlie Kirk is high profile enough that you wouldn't need an "it's done" call, unless the "it's done" call is get the hell out of town, withdraw your team from around town. Like, we don't know where the team was. We don't know if the gun had to be planted. Like, I'm just thinking total conspiratorially here, but we don't know what was planted where. Did someone have to throw throw a screwdriver up on the roof? Did someone have to plant a gun by the chicken coop? Did someone have to go over to the Dairy Queen and drop some people off? Did somebody have to get some stuff out of the hotel and plant it? I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, an "it's done" call would, if there were other operators that had to immediately spring into action, that would make a lot of sense. But just the fact that confirmation that Charlie had gotten shot, I mean, the world had that pretty quick, like within a couple minutes. He was one of the most famous people his age in America. But if there was a team and that team had to execute on certain things, the "it's done" call would have been helpful. But then why Mikey? Why not one of the team members? You know, surely they're looking. I don't know. Just thinking here, thinking out loud. When Angela, $10. I love your trial attorney style. Personally have a question. You don't have to answer. Are you a friend of Bill W? Did you get sober without meetings? I don't know who Bill W is. You have been open, so I asked. I didn't go to meetings. I just quit drinking. And yeah, I don't knock people who go to meetings. I had some friends that I reached out to that I knew had gotten sober. But I'm one of those people, like, I don't want the pressure.
Bill W. is the guy who started AA.
Because if you tell everyone ahead of time I'm going to quit drinking, then if you fail, like, you're a total failure. It's easier just to quit and then, like, a week later say, I haven't had a drink in a week. That way, because I've quit before and I didn't quit, you know. I don't know who Bill W. is. I'm sure he's a great guy. Yes, guests will be given scrubs if going into infectious disease area or into a surgical suite. Do guests often go into trauma surgery? Like, is this evidence that the guests were in the surgical suite? Because that's weird. Now, I tell you what, Brian Harpole did say he cut Charlie Kirk's shirt off at the hospital, which I always found was a little strange. Like, don't you have doctors who can do that with Dr. Scissors? If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. That's why the story keeps changing. I think a lot of it is, Rob McCoy strikes me as the, like, smart aleck in a Corvette that had too much to drink and got pulled over at 2 a.m. and thinks he can talk his way out of it. And thinks he can, like, you know, he's like 9 beers deep and is like, oh, I'm smarter than this cop. I can get out of this.
That is
I've had 2
exactly what he
beers,
seems
officer.
like.
Happy to step out of the car and do your stupid human tricks. I'll pass these with flying colors. And then he's like $15,000 later paying the DUI lawyer. That's what Rob McCoy reminds me of. Mikey said on the Charlie Kirk show, his poor dad didn't know for 3 days he wasn't covered in blood, but he sees him a few hours later. It's amazing how the story evolves. It would have been nice at the hotel, Mikey, if you'd have just said, oh, Dad, by the way, I wasn't covered in blood. I ran like a scared little chicken. I had to call Eliza, and then Erica, and then you, and all in under 75 seconds. That would have been nice. No idea. I had no idea Mikey was at a hotel in Salt Lake City until I heard that sermon a couple days ago. No idea. Now, you know why I didn't do that, this whole show with the planes. It is so hard deciding what order to cover stuff in. You know why I didn't do this show with the planes and the sermon on Wednesday? Because no one was here. You guys were all over the river and through the woods on the way to grandmother's house. That was one of the lowest watched shows in history. I figured I'd do it on Friday after Thanksgiving when more people would be around. Remember, Candace verified the UVU event being live streamed back to TPUSA headquarters? They've already watched it live. But was Rob at the TPUSA headquarters? I don't believe he was. I think he was in California. Sounded like he was at home. Now, it's even weirder if he is watching live from the TPUSA headquarters. That's even weirder. I could be wrong. Been wrong before. Julian Faith, VA, $4.99. I bet you're a damn good lawyer. Impeccable attention to detail. Thank you for all you do. I'm not, I don't toot my own horn. I've had fun practicing law for 20 years. I'll tell you that. I've had some really fun cases. I've traveled all over the country trying cases. I've tried some hard cases, and I've gotten my teeth kicked in just because they're unwinnable. And you're really just trying the case, hoping for some appellate issue to survive. And I've tried some cases we were supposed to win and did, and I've tried everything in between and had some fun and won some cases we were supposed to lose and lost some cases maybe we should have won. So, any lawyer that tells you never loses is a liar, lie to you about anything else. But I've had a hell of a lot of fun, and I feel like I've given my clients the best I can give, the best opportunity they had for the money they could afford. So, obviously, if you have trillions of dollars, you can hire whole teams of people with experience. But I've had fun. And I feel like I've done a good job. But thank you for your kind words. Belky, Canuck Bucks, the hotel you spoke about last time was one of the biggest leads, in my opinion. Are we not talking about that anymore? No deep dive on this. Speaking to hotel staff, comparing to people on flights. I have gotten emails of people who have been to the hotel and taken pictures of the cameras in the lobby. And just because I'm not covering it today doesn't mean that it's not being worked on. But yeah, the La Quinta Inn is definitely still a thing, as is the fact that the La Quinta Inn is on the preferred military vendor list for the United States. I don't know that that's related or not, but I've noticed it, and I've had several people email me talking about that they're in the military and they stay at La Quintas because that's where the military tells them to stay. So I've heard that. So yeah, we're working on it at Becky up there in Canada. Do you vacation in Banff? Isn't that like our Denver or Aspen or something? Ian, Tucker, and Candace need to form the AJ, the American Journalists of America, organized. I had this conversation with somebody the other day. That I'm not sure joining an organization is nearly as effective in the future as just a respect for other people who do the same thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Oh, did you do this twice? Norman, love? Thank you. You did it twice. I don't know if you meant to. Your next comment's on me, good sir. I was in the hospital with my mom every day for over a year. I was given scrubs one time after she had brain surgery to keep the environment as sterile as possible, not normal practice. Otherwise, I've never seen it. Of course, I haven't been to the hospital terribly too many times. I broke my leg and went to the hospital a few years ago. And no one that came to visit me got scrubs, but we weren't bleeding either. And I have been present at the birth of 8 children and have never been given scrubs. But those were all largely without incident. One was a little squirrely, but most of them were without incident. And so I was never offered nor accepted a pair of scrubs. Nor blankets when it's like 37 degrees in there. Not those either. Sent email with image of shot, Mikey not watching. I'll check that out. Thank you for your additional donation to get that in. Rob McCoy, on the other hand, no Spidey sense needed for this dirtbag. Hey, that's your opinion, sir, not mine, just because I'm reading it out loud. You spend enough time on this earth and you learn something about good and evil. The guy's 100% on the wrong side again. Rob, take it up with Neem 7272. I'm just reading the comments. Papa D Trollinger. I love your show. I travel a lot for work. It's quickly become one of my favorites. I tried not to miss any of your lives. Keep up the good work. Papa D Trollinger, I appreciate that. I genuinely appreciate that. I wish you the best of luck in your travels. I know how hard it is to travel and be away from family, and I'm sure they appreciate your hard work. It's tough, man. Life on the road is tough. I did that for a while. Life on the road is very.
I love life on the road.
Even just tough on you in general, just because you sleeping in hotels, don't really know where you are. Sometimes it's tough.
That's why you get an RV, homie.
Donation there. Why on earth is Charlie on a platform like that? That's a good question. I've asked it many times. They had him way up high where he could be spotted above the crowd from rooftops. Well, I guess because their low IQs believed that the rooftops were covered by the police, even though the police said nothing of the sort. They talked only of the rooftop directly above him and behind him. They said nothing about the Sorensen Center, the Losi Center, rather. Tell you that. Darcy P, that's a past show. You can go back and watch that. I assume you guys watch every show. Did you hear a French person has warned Candace to stay off air for 90 days? I did not. They could have already hit her, and one half government is in the know. What about Mikey at Physician's Lot picking someone up day off? So let me start with the last sentence first. I don't know that that was ever confirmed. One person said that and then disappeared. So that's the answer to that part. The first and second sentences. Yeah, I think one of the terrifying things that could happen to you is someone showing you a picture of your head through a scope. That would be terrifying to me. I don't know that that's happened, but I've not seen that. I will. Is that like super popular and I just missed it today and all the hubbub because I was prepping for this show? I'm gonna take a picture of that and check it out. Thank you. Thank you for the generous donation as well.
That's the video I was telling you guys about that the French spy posted about
for the $10. Very generous.
Candace Owens being killed
he walked
alive.
away knowing there wasn't going to be a second shot. Yeah, I noticed everybody else was running, and he walked right behind the shooter, right behind where the shooter had taken a shot at Charlie. Meaning, if there was a second shot and it missed, it would have gone right through the back screen. Or if it had actually been a 30-06, it would have gone right through the back screen.
This one's going to come through a lot faster.
That's just my opinion.
What do I need to do today, dude?
I'm
I
sure
really need
there
to
are
think.
people out there with these YouTube channels dedicated to firearms that think I'm an idiot for saying such a thing. But a normal 30-06 fired from a normal 30-06 rifle at a normal 142-yard distance is probably going to also injure or neutralize the people
powder's on its way.
The target in the tent back there. But remember, Charlie had a kryptonite neck. Really, really tough stuff. Yeah, but he walked right behind the shot. It would be like you're on a target, like you're on a live range, right? A nice live range, and you're standing right next to the target. You're 142 yards from where the people are on sandbags shooting, and you're right next to the target. You hear a shot go off, and then you walk right behind the target on a live range. That's the equivalent of what he did. Great live if these short phone calls are accurate. They seem like mission accomplished announcements. Have a great weekend. That would be one interpretation. I'm not suggesting that's what they were, but that is an interpretation. I will be stunned. I will not accuse him of lying or anything else. I would like to see the actual records from AT&T or Verizon. I don't trust his screenshots at this point, not Mikey. I will be stunned if there is legitimate, verifiable authenticated evidence that would be admissible at trial that demonstrate Mikey McCoy made 3 phone calls in under a minute and a half. Telling his wife, Charlie's wife, and his father that Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck. And none of them said anything more than like, oh, okay, bye.
Install Mr. Heater MHV FDF20 BFT.
I'll be stunned. I'll be...
All right, so you've got your 30,000 BTU Mr. Heater Blue Flame ventless heater that you're excited to use because you're actually going to be able to get the heat inside that you've wanted for a while. For me, it's in this barn. It's 40 degrees in here right now. I don't like this as a Texas boy, so we're going to get this going. But you're wondering, how do I actually connect it to my 20-pound tank? Because the instructions are not clear, and it doesn't come with everything that you need in the box. So today we're going to talk about that. Stay tuned because we're going to get right into it. Hey y'all, this is Eric with East Texas Homestead, and if you're new to the channel, you'll find that we talk about Mr. Heater Buddy products on occasion. We talk about solar and off-grid living. We talk about homesteading. We talk about gardening. We talk about things like that. If that interests you, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel and check out some of the videos on our playlists. So before we get started, of course, I've got to get all the legal stuff out of the way. I am not a licensed plumber, and I am not qualified or certified to actually tell you what to do here. This is what I'm doing for myself, and if you want to be reckless as well, then you can also try this for yourself. But I take no responsibility for you harming yourself, anyone else, or any property, or any damage that may be caused, etc., etc., etc. Do this at your own risk. One more thing before we start. It says, caution, I'm reading right here out of the manual, page 9 of the supplied manual with mine. It says, caution, never connect heater directly to the propane supply. This heater requires an external regulator, not included. Install the external regulator between the heater and the propane or LP supply. All right. Now, what kind of regulator do you need? It says the external regulator will reduce the incoming gas pressure to between 11 and 14 inches of water. I believe this one is 11. It is an official Mr. Heater that I picked up at Tractor Supply. I will supply some links in the description. If you want to purchase through that on Amazon, that would be fantastic. I will get a small commission. If you don't want to purchase on it, that's fine too. Like I said, I got this one at Tractor Supply. What else are you going to need? Well, you're going to need some tape, and make sure you're using the yellow gas tape. Don't just use the water, gray, or white tape.
See, this is what I need to know.
Another thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a fitting, and in this case, I've got 2 of them here, which I picked up on Amazon. They were like $7 or something for a 2-pack. They are 3/8 inch flare to 3/8 inch NPT, and it's got a 90 on it. Now you might be thinking, I don't need to have the 90 degree. I can just use a straight NPT to flare, 3/8 on both sides. Well, I've tried that. It is connected down here, and it does work. However, if you're going to have this sitting on its feet on the ground, you don't have enough space for this hose to actually make the 90. If it's wall mounted, that would work just fine. So what I'm going to do is replace the straight fitting with a 90-degree elbow, and then we're going to go from there. All right, so here you can see what I'm talking about. You've actually got this straight fitting that comes out, and then as we connect to this guy right here, it just doesn't have the room to be able to twist. So what we're going to do is replace this with this one right here. Also want to point out that you'll notice I've got tape on this side right here, the NPT side, but not here on the flare side. And before anybody comments, yes, this is the wrong type of tape. I was trying it out because I could not find my actual yellow gas tape. One other thing to pay attention to is that if you purchase this kit right here, I didn't realize it, but it actually comes with a little bit of tape in the bag. You know, it might actually be easier to do this before putting these feet on. It Definitely don't want to mar up these threads. Now this side doesn't need tape because it's actually using mechanical pressure to hold this together. Now, of course, depending on which hose you purchased, you may have to find a different setup here, but for this one, I've got this little ring that came in with it, and I'm simply going to put it in here. Now, I'll point out that this is a left-handed thread, so you're going to actually need to not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, but lefty-loosey. Wait, lefty-tighty, righty. What is it? Lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. That's it.
It's plumbing. It's like plumbing. Plumbing is backwards.
All right, get it nice and snug there. Let's slowly open this guy up. And here the gas is flowing. All right, this is the part that's going to be a lot of fun. So we've got to take this knob, we're going to turn it to pilot, and then press and hold it down. And we're going to have to purge quite a bit of gas out of here. So of course I'm holding this. I'm going to hold down here, and then I'm
Air. He meant air.
pop like this. Okay, so I'm pushing down on the pilot button, or pushing down on the adjusting knob rather, while it's on pilot. Pressing down, and then I'm going to do this. Now you'll see it's popping a little bit, but so far we don't have anything coming through. It's going to take a while. And I don't want to completely run the batteries down, just like hammering this guy. Oh, also, that's another thing. The battery. Unscrew this cap. And there's a battery, positive side.
The battery is the button. That's so funny.
Screw that back on.
You just
That's
press
not
and once it
covered
makes
anywhere in the
contact, it
instructions.
flaps. Da-da-da. That's cool.
I can hear the gases coming through. There it goes. All right, I got it. So I'm going to keep holding the pilot light down for just a bit, or pilot knob. Looks like it's good to go. Okay, so now we're going to turn this. Slightly push down on it. Turn. We have heat, everybody. That sounded terrible. What is that noise? Got good heat, but I've got it very much on low. I guess you can't just like crank it real quick. Oh yeah, that feels nice. So this is definitely going to be a much welcome addition to the barn here, especially as we're going to be doing more solar stuff. Stay tuned. One of the things we're actually going to be doing sooner than later is swapping out these 6000 EX inverters and upgrading to the 6000 XP inverters from EG4. So I'm really excited about that, but I definitely wanted some heat in here so I can do that a little bit, well, warmer. If you like this sort of thing, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, and check out this video right here. YouTube thinks that you like that one, and this is a playlist on our other Mr. Heater products.
Hey, welcome to What We Thought. I'm Kevin, and I'm going solo again. As I mentioned before in one of the other videos, we had a grandbaby, so Elizabeth, she's off with that grandbaby. So I'm going to do just a little review on this Mr. Heater 30,000 BTU indoor propane heater. It does have the blue flame, so that differentiates between inside, or if you have an outside propane heater, that flame will be orange. So, to prevent getting carbon monoxide poisoning, make sure you have the right one.
Okay, I
They
bought the
do
right
sell
one.
one that's natural gas as well that you can use indoors. This one's hooked up on a propane bottle. Let me show you everything before I get any further with this video. All right, guys, so this is a Mr. Heater 30,000 BTU propane heater. And I've got this little tiny one-car garage, and it is cold in here. This heater will heat up to 1,000 square feet, And I've been using this in here, and man, I got to tell you, it works fantastic. It's a little overkill with the 1,000 square feet, but this thing will heat it up in no time. And before I turn it on, I want to show you one thing that you must have if you get one of these. This is for the propane bottle. This is not the natural gas. So if you get one of these, the propane inlet is right here, and you absolutely have to have this little joint, okay? And this comes in a kit by Mr. Heater. It does not come with this. The kit's about 50 bucks, but you have to have the kit, and the kit includes this little joint right here, and it includes this 12-foot hose, okay? So that is a must. Unless you're gonna hang it on a wall with a bottle down below or outside, you really don't want to have your bottle in the house. So anyway, I wanted to show you that. There will be links below in case you're looking for these, or if you're looking for this heater, okay? So here it is. I got my heater right here. I actually ran my hose down through my wall here, and in this house, I have an old heater vent for the dryer. Not a heater vent, but a dryer vent that come through the house and outside right here. And my bottle is right there, okay? So I do need to turn this on if I'm gonna start using it. Turn it all the way up. Been using this, there's probably propane through the line already. If the propane hasn't come through, it does take a little bit, but on the knob here to get the gas through the line. So just turn that to pilot, hold it down, and it should light right there. I do have to wait a little bit, so you have to hold this down for a little while to get the propane to run through all the way out to get to here, okay? Before I actually get it started, it does come with a AA battery that goes in there for your igniter. Just drops in with the positive side up. Okay, let's try to get this thing started again. Hold down on pilot. There it is. Hold your button down for about 30 seconds. And basically what it will do is it will heat up that little probe sticking out, and it will stay on. Okay, I let up off of the pilot, and then you can turn it to has 1 through 5, and this is thermostatically controlled. So I just put it on 1, and boy, that heat immediately starts coming up. Okay, so this does have a blue flame. If this was an outdoor one, it would have the orange flame. So this helps prevent from, carbon monoxide poisoning. It also has a oxygen depletion sensor in here. So if you are in a room like this and the oxygen gets low, this will shut off. What I like to do when I use it in here, I don't know if it's necessary, but I have this little stand fan, and I just turn it on, helps circulate the air, make sure that air is moving while I have this on. That's just for me. I don't want carbon monoxide poisoning. It says it won't, but this also helps circulate the air and warms up this room even faster.
What I'll show you is 55 degrees when I started it up. And it shouldn't take but maybe 20 minutes to heat this garage. Okay, so I've had this on for 10 minutes. It's up to 65 degrees from the 55 in 10 minutes. I took my jacket off because I know it's going to get warm here in a second. Anyway, I just wanted to do a quick
Okay,
review
so
on
but
this
like
little
what
heater.
if I put that heater in the front of my bus? If I put it, oh my God, I could put it right here. And then I could run the hose outside, and I could keep the tank out front. And then the tank would not be in the house. Oh my God, I think I just literally need to move this mirror, and I could pretty much just put it like right here. If I just rearrange this shit just a little bit. If I put it all the way down here on the wood, if I move this whole thing, if I move this whole setup that I have here, I could angle the heater in that direction. I still need to get tape. I still need to get the tape, the gas tape. I don't have that here. Let me see if Adam does. Be right back. Also, I'll be right back. I gotta run and go pee real quick. Okay, forgot to unmute it. So I need to clean my house anyway. It's a nice day. It's literally a shit show in here. I haven't cleaned since it's been a while. So like I need to throw a bunch of crap away. I've just been a fucking slob in this area of the house for a while now. So I need to clean it up anyway. And I need to find a place to put the mirror. Okay, I need a t-shirt. Let's do that first. I thought the dog hair was a fucking spider. Okay. I should get maybe my tripod. All right, I'm gonna switch over to Tiki Talkie. So I'll see you there maybe. Creeper.